because I came across this picture here of the Great Fire in Brisbane. The Great Fire of December the 1st, 1864. And then I thought, of course, Brisbane had a great fire. Duh, like, and but you compare,
it's a city.
Exactly. And then I went, well, that's so interesting. So I wonder if I went the Great Fire of Brisbane, if I went to the Great Fire of, say, Melbourne, would there be one? And then did they all kind of have great, there's Melbourne, the Great Fire of Melbourne, like these images. Yep.
1897.
Yep, 1897. Like these 1897, apparently like all these buildings in Melbourne came screaming down. And then I read the Great Fire of Sydney. And of course, up it comes the Raging Fire of Sydney, 1890. And I was like, yep. So basically around the same period, across the whole of Australia, they literally set fire.
This is the Phoenix.
Yep.
Like this is their Phoenix, right? But born from fire, they go and destroy the old world and then birth their bloody crappy creation in its place.
Yep. Good morning, Tartaria Australia and Autodidactic. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. How are you doing, Kelly?
I'm good. Cambell and I thought today we're just gonna take it back to our roots. We're gonna do a show back on Tartaria and the buildings and architecture, and just like get back to sort of where we started a little bit. What do you reckon, Cambell?
Definitely a bit of history, a bit of Tartaria in Australia. That is the name, I guess. And you've been out in the country in New South Wales, and you've been driving through lots of little towns.
Yeah, it's been like, as you guys know, I've been renovating my farm, which is for sale now if anyone wants to buy a farm. I've been renovating that. It's been awesome because I've been out in the country for 4 weeks by myself, basically just remembering all my cool building skills and gardening skills. And it's like the energetic that washes over you just with, you know what, like it was more it wasn't just the physical work and sweating it out, which I love, and just being outdoors. It was just that I only had to think of one thing, like I'd get up every day and my mind was just on the renovations and the building and the farmhouse. And I was like, not interacting with the computer much. The only thing I really did was the podcast with you guys. And it was so nice in my brain for 4 weeks, just that simple, which I think is basically what the human race like thrives in when we're not sitting here like with a dozen things happening simultaneously in our brains and needing to have to attend to all sorts of things and projects and people and places and times events. It's just like and you relate to that. It's just like so much for us to handle.
It's too much, and just even without just people interacting with people, just all the crap and the government and the spam and the stuff on you got to deal with on computers and stuff. It's just,
and the 20,000 passwords that we have to continually update and change and recreate, and all the different platforms we have to get into and remember the passwords. And it's just like it takes up so much time every week negotiating.
Phone.
As you know, like
guys, and everything just goes out the window, and oh my god.
I know the negotiation we have to make with AI to like keep everything working is so exhausting for us right now. And that doesn't even take into consideration the bombardment of frequencies and fucking all the other nefarious elements we're dealing with. And, I just really got a hit of remembering how lovely and pleasant it is just to be outside in your garden, in the sun, sweating it out, getting it to the end of the day and feeling like you've done a really good day just because there's a physical, thing at the end of it that you've achieved, like so different from how I feel when I'm interacting with the computer, you know?
Well, you feel, when you go to bed, you feel tired.
Exactly.
Because you've earned your sleep, you've used your body, like sitting down all day in front of a screen, that like you go to bed and your body's not worn out and your mind's awake because it's been getting light in the eyes all day. And you're like,
I know. It fucks us up.
It's not
like
good.
Our brains are wired and our bodies aren't tired. So we're not utilizing our physical energy, and we're stretching our mental energy. And it really is
is the connection, right, to AI. Like the I won't mention the word because we know what happened last time. You know, the tentacles, right? They're creeping in, and the further you try and get out of the system, or the more you try and do something different, the more it tries to grab you. And you know, and it's like, no, you have to pay attention to me, and that's really all it is, right? Pay attention to me, pay attention to me, pay attention to this stupid spam, and you know, pay attention. And I told you, you must change your password, so you must change. I'm at the point where I'm just like, I just want to delete all social media, everything. I'm just not interested. There's nothing there apart from people running around in circles, spreading information that shouldn't be spread. Because as we talked about, that's complying, right? And we're really in this place, aren't we, where a lot of us, we just want to be out and building something new and something different and going forward in another direction. And then the whole system trying to just hold you back. And no, you can't do that. You must stay here. You must stay here. What about me? But it's all an illusion in the end, isn't it? I think.
Well, I definitely know for our community, like the best is yet to come on this level. Like, really, guys, we are really standing on that little like pinnacle point where, you know, a lot of us will end up, whether we've got a plan now or it's coming, we're going to end up returning to the land. And as we do that individually, gosh almighty, that, you know, the bliss energy that I felt the last 4 weeks and have felt, you know, for many years of my time is coming to everyone. And the enjoyment of like getting your bodies interacting with the physical landscape and getting dirty and sweaty and hot and growing things and being so proud of your first carrot popping up, and like enjoying your relationships again because you're cohabitating and co-creating and enjoying what you're creating with your physical hands. And that's yet to come for so many of us. And it's such a blissful shift that, like, if you're feeling really exhausted right now, like all of us, and you know, you're just like feeling like your head's just being stretched in 1,000 like places, and it's just, you're waking up already tired sort of vibration, you know, and you're going to bed wired and you're waking up tired. Like, this is ahead of you guys. Like, you are going to really find a whole new, I think for all of us, your best self, your best physical presentation, your best body, your best version of yourself is yet to come. And it's going to be when you start moving back and participating again in the land. So that's good. I'm excited for us.
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt to go through, but I mean, you know, we've got to make decisions, right, and prove that we're worthy of what we say we want. You know, the last 2,000 years, everyone's like, I want this, but then they sit on their ass and watch Netflix and complain when they don't get it. So I think we're sort of being taught a lesson, and we've just got to stick it out, right? And but you know, you've also got to have the mental, right? If you don't believe that that's going to happen, you've lost, right? So it's all about, you know, so as we're building it, it's this kind of fractal motion, you know, we kind of build it, and that gives us permission to actually enter it, and this big journey, right? The hero's journey.
We're in.
The other thing is time. Like when you're, you know, I bet you've noticed when you're on the farm, when you're in the garden, you know, there's no deadlines. There's no, you have to do it by this. Oh, I've only got 5 minutes to get this seed in. No, time disappears. You're just out there in the flow.
Totally, Campbell. I was standing in the shower today thinking exactly that. I was like, I've been back in Melbourne for a couple of days. I've been back at work for 2 days, and already I'm standing here feeling like I have no time. Like, I can't fit it all in. Like, I'm waking up and I can't even get enough done during the day. And the day goes, and I've been in front of the computer all day, and there's no time. And for the last 4 weeks, I've achieved so much, and I never once felt like I had short amount of time during the day. Like, I'd get there, I'd start, and then I'd finish the day when the sun was going down, and it felt like I had 40 hours every single day. And I get back here and I feel like I've got like 2 hours every day. Like the difference in my perception of time from being in front of this computer versus being out there in the world, in reality on the garden. It was just it is profoundly different. Like this AI connection we have wired and fired with it's so much more high impact than we realized. It is it twists and turns time. It twists and turns day and night. It twists and turns our perceptions. Like, yeah, I mean, it's really tricky though, because like all of our community, everyone we meet, all the awesome people around the world, we meet them here. So that's what keeps us here, right?
It is, yeah. I mean, yeah, who knows what's happening with YouTube, but this is the thing, we do need, we need technology. We just don't need the AI version of it, and we need to control it, and we need to make, because AI, what it loves to do, it's like, oh, we won't give them one platform, let's throw out 100 and really confuse people.
Yeah, and not so, one password. You've got to have 100.
Yeah, then you need all these new passwords. You need all this stuff. You need to fill up your computer with all this data you don't want. Then you've got another, more avenues for them to bombard you with crap you don't want to hear about and more shit. I mean, we just need, and this is what annoys me every time you try, people make new groups and it's like, oh, I found a great app. It's really good. And I'm just like, I don't want to know. I've got too many.
Full. No more apps.
Tell me one that works, and that's it. Like, because that's what we need is one. Like, that's all I want. I want something that I can get on once a day and check how people are, talk to them, blah blah blah, and that's it. I don't want my phone dinging. I don't want people to be able to call me randomly. It's just like this didn't exist in the 80s when I was growing up.
No way.
Even in the 90s, right?
Yep.
It just didn't exist, and now people think that you have to respond if someone sends you a message or calls you or something. It's like, oh my god, I must. I'm sorry, if my phone rings and there's not a name coming up that I know, that's not getting answered.
I mean, like how many, how much time every day do people spend just dealing with their inbox and their emails? Like just one thing.
I just can't. I clicked on my email yesterday.
Yep,
I took a few days off last week. I just can't handle it. It's just a full page, and you go, oh shit, and then you click the next, and the next page is full as well. It's just like, what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you like? And then of course, then you've got, that's just one platform, right? Then you've got all these other 5 or 6 platforms, and it's just, Facebook. I just pretty much ignore now. There's a couple of people because of Messenger, but I don't want to be on Facebook. I don't want to be anywhere. It's just...
Yeah. I mean, all right. So obviously that's our little bitch about technology, but we're not going to start the show on that. We're going to start by saying, for all its bullshit, which we're all over, and it's good because we're being squeezed like coal right now to make a shift and like jump off it. And, like Tui's challenged me to like live without technology for a year, what that looked like without mirrors and technology. They were the 2 things that I got challenged on. Like, not that, the mirror thing was interesting because it's just a commentary on how we have been forced into such a heavily image-based culture. And, in all of our presentation and everything we do, that image, whether it's reflective of a video screen or a TikTok screen or a Facebook image, or an actual old school mirror, and the AI connection, all of that basically sets us up for a second life. It's like a projection of ourselves into a non-real space. And to actually get rid of those 2 things, and move back onto the land, like it would actually be quite a liberating experiment outside of, because I still love, the thing I love about tech is that I have access to being creative with it. I love Photoshop. I'm, graphic designer. I love doing my art. I love the community that I meet, and I love my access to knowledge. So for me, tech on those levels, I love. We have really, Tartaria is like exploded because of our access to information and being able to scour the globe, I shouldn't say globe, scour the realm. We could say globe for the matrix version of what the earth is, but it really allows us to like time travel in all directions. And it's an arduous interface, and I'm sure that's going to move into a quantum realm, but definitely it's given us so much access to information, like today's show, Campbell. We're going to fly around Australia right now and like wire and fire and join some dots. And it's really been really beneficial for that. So I hope there is a time that community interface becomes a quantum interface where, you know, we can just do this like in our own sovereignty, with telepathy, with our own mental abilities.
Yeah.
And potentially this AI stuff is really prohibiting us from, you know, really
exactly. That if
exploring
we're using it instead of our own abilities, and then exactly, we're never going to bring them in. But that's the thing, like it can be used for good or bad. The main thing is just, you know, use it for what you want, right? If people if there's stuff you don't want, just ignore it, you know, don't give it your attention, because that's compliance. So
I mean, I think there's definitely a case now of like maybe making a list in your life and stripping out, deleting the apps, the programs, the fucking inboxes that like are not serving you, and like really streamline it, really like get down to the bare basics. Obviously, I'm going to always keep the YouTube channel. I love doing this work with you, and I will always do that. I love that side of things. I'll always keep Photoshop, but I mean, Facebook,
it's all the social dopamine stuff. That's because that's the thing, you know. I'm thinking, I should be on Instagram. I should be, if I can get all my stuff and all these, and then I'm thinking, geez, that's just so much effort. Thanks. So we'll be here. So Australia, right? What's behind me? Do we know, Kel?
That is the Brisbane Town Hall.
That's a Brisbane Town Hall. God.
Yep, that's a postcard from I think the 50s, 60s. And behind me is an 1888 map of Brisbane. 1888 people. Look at those buildings.
That's like 50 years after it was founded or something. Jeez.
So what we're going to do today is, obviously I have been in rural New South Wales and traveling up and down New South Wales through Victoria regionally and taking note of the buildings. And then on the weekend, I ended up in Brisbane. So we've never actually done a show on that area. So I thought, let's fucking start with Brisbane and have a deep dive, and then just do it fluently. We'll just be, you know, Googling as we're going and just like weaving and firing. And then actually like start to move through our regional townships and just really showcase that with the premise potentially that we've never ever built a township. We've never done it like that. These townships were basically us discovering them and then moving into them and then embellishing them in various ways, but that we never established anything. We just ended up finding them.
And we'll show some photos today. You see it all the time, right? These big buildings and then a little wooden shack on the side, you know. And they love to show the first building, you know, it's like the first building and it's a log cabin or some bark hut. And then like literally they'll show you photos of 2 years later and there's a full laid out city. And it's like,
exactly. Like what's behind me, 1888.
1888.
You know, come on, guys.
Literally 100 years after they set foot on Australia, apparently, and there was nothing here. So and that's just one city out of 7, and then all the towns.
Exactly. I mean, if you think of the amount of people that it would have taken to be here in Australia to actually simultaneously, all in the same small time period, establish our 7 capital cities and all that they involve, like the timelines are just impossible.
And the size of Australia, like our capital cities are not close together. You know, like Melbourne and Sydney are the closest, and they're a day apart, sort of in a car or something. So it's just ridiculous.
It's not like they could have shared resources or transported things. Like, you know, we look at this. There was no roads or railways. Well, there probably was, but we didn't build them.
They hadn't uncovered the railways yet. But, so that means that all the resources have to be local for each different town, city, building site, everything, and that's glass, that's bricks, that's you know, sandstone, firing the bricks, sandstone, making
concrete,
water,
steel,
iron, and all the factories that you need to build all that in. You need to have that built before you can even start. It's just
Yep. Yep. Crazy. And like, you know, if you look at today, when you sort of like take a building idea to an architect and then to an engineering firm, and you go through this whole process to say build a building like the one behind Cambell, like that's years and years of work today. Like people getting that sort of the mass and the structures together so that they're holding themselves and their foundations are strong and everything is to the smallest detail organized and you know, like presented and with a plan so the builders know what they're doing. Like, hello, that sort of stuff was not happening here in Australia for every single one of these fucking buildings in every city. It's impossible.
No, and they're bigger and more well built. Like I was just thinking, I mean, someone might prove me wrong, but I've never heard of one of the old world buildings falling over.
No,
you hear only buildings doing fires. Yeah, exactly. Fires and wars. That's the only thing that'll get them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing, right? So they're built structurally sound, they're engineered, and once you get all that, then it's another year just to get all the people on board and get all the materials sorted. And it's just
and dozens of companies. Like today, they've employed dozens of different contractors to do that sort of work. Like, you know, that stuff did not exist. And I love the fact that Tartaria, the architecture is giving away our history. And I think that's just so profound. And I love that about this rabbit hole that we're in. Like, I love it.
I'm just looking at that obelisk on that building. That's massive.
Oh, yeah. All right. Like, so Cambell, I'm going
to. Yeah, imagine the strength you would need to build into the building to hold that thing on its roof. It's
ridiculous.
It's
ridiculous. So, okay, so let's start with the Brisbane Town Hall. I made a little video when I was there on the weekend, so I'll play that now, and we can have a look at it in real time, real life, and then we can tear it apart. So I'm just going to share my screen, and can you see that, Cambell?
I can.
All right, let's see if I can. All right, I'm going to press play. Let's see if the volume works. Fingers crossed. All right. Let me know if you can hear that. Can you hear that, Cambell?
Not yet.
What was the problem with our volume?
Is it up the top?
No, there is.
Is
hang
it
on.
below the three dots? And I think if you push that, there's like a sound thing you can hit.
On Zoom?
On Zoom, yeah, up where it sort of says stop sharing. If you go sideways, if you've got that bar and sideways, it's got like three little dots.
Yep.
If you click on that, I think it says sound to video or something.
Share computer sound. Got it. Great. Oh, and password. See, password.
Oh,
which one is it?
You want to turn the sound on? You better prove it's you.
All right. Tell me, can you hear that? Morning, Tartarian hunters. Well, I'm in Brisbane. And this here is the Brisbane Town Centre. Yep. One epic motherfucker. Situated here in the centre of the CBD. Apparently built over a 10-year period. Opened in 1928. Apparently this up here, which has a very complicated name, I can't remember. Yeah, that has a complicated name. Represents that woman in the middle, represents enlightenment, and then that's all the settlers that arrived to move. I mean, just pausing there, Cambell. Like, seriously,
really?
Would we seriously have built that in 1910? Like, what? The craftsmen, we can't even do that today. Hello, do you ever see buildings?
Fairs, like none of that artwork has got nothing to do with Australia at all. Nothing. At all.
Like, I mean, do you see buildings today with this sort of like craftsmanship? It doesn't exist. We don't do it. And you can argue that it's because of the price, but man, this whole building apparently cost £900,000 in 1920.
Yeah, so, to clean it up.
Like, money hasn't disappeared.
No, they try and say that everything was cheaper because there were so many people and people would just work for nothing. But if you pay, those people can't build buildings like this.
No.
They can dig holes in the ground. That's about it.
Yeah. Out from her loving arms to claim the land. That she represents enlightenment, apparently, the mother. You might be able to see cowering on the floor in either corner. Apparently that's what that represents. Oh dear. And yeah, one massive clock face with some old Tartarian tech on top, some massive columns. And I guess the question really becomes like, I mean, I just look now at the history just to see what they've managed to, what fairy tales they've managed to put together. But my tolerance for finding the humour in it has waxed and waned, so to speak. So let's just look at the scale here. Like, there's a person. There's like some epic columns about 5, 6, 10 persons high. There's an epic ornate sculpture, and then there is an epic top clock tower. I mean, it's so big. My phone's not even giving it justice. Like, and then right up the top there's like a whole pile of more epic 10 people tall columns. So I guess the question becomes, why? Why would a civilization, with all the concerns of civilization, starting off in this little barren country, bother to build something that big to house a clock? I mean, okay, you want a clock tower? Fine. Everyone's entitled to a clock tower. But then why do you need to have it surrounded by dozens of epically tall columns on top of the clock tower? Why go that far? What's the benefit? And like, let's just go back to the 1930s. Like, how the fuck did they get scaffolding up that high? I mean, seriously, this thing is higher. It's on par with this high rise. See that? See that? That's us today. See that level, that scale? That's us. This, not us. Not us. Why would people in the 1920s build scaffolding that motherfucking high to build columns on top of a clock tower just for the sake of it? It makes no fucking sense. And it's getting tiring. I know you guys must feel the same. It's getting tiring realizing how much and how grand the deception is on this planet. Like these buildings, I mean, Cambell, I just turned the volume down. Like, fucking, what the fuck, man? Like, I mean, seriously, why? Why would a culture that's just starting off, why would they invest in creating something so epic? It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. It's not practical either. There's no way that it could be practically done. But yeah, just in the sense that would they do it and what would be the reason? There's no reason. I mean, that clock tower.
Yeah.
I mean, what the?
Why?
Why exactly? and why? Like you said, if you want a clock tower, sure, but why does it have to be that big? And why does it have to be on top of a building? And why does it need the columns on top? And and why does it look like it's an airship port?
Yeah, I mean, like, this is just a town hall. Like, you know, what do you need a town hall for back then? You know, like, really, you need a building that's dealing with some like paperwork and some management. Inside this building is, of course, an epic motherfucking organ.
Of course.
Hello, of course. It's got a huge auditorium, several actually, all modeled off Roman Colosseum style auditoriums. It's completely built out of marble and decorative to the max. Like, and of course, it's got mega basements that I couldn't access, obviously. But man, this building is like an epic thing. It's so big. I can't even give you justice just on my phone.
Yeah, and I mean, you know what, we walked past these buildings, I suppose, for years, but like, it's just how do we not see it, right? That it's just ridiculous. Like, the whole story is just dumb and out of marble. And then on top of that, we get the story in Australia that, oh, it's just all built by convicts. Just criminals brought over, you know, 9 months in a boat so we could make them nice and weak and sick, and then we just chuck them in, and they're suddenly the best artisans in the world.
Yeah. I mean, and most of this stuff is prefabbed. Like, you know, there's like beautiful ornate sculptural lines, like on the interface of the structures, the columns, the
scrolling at the top.
Yep, exactly. Like,
it's
these
all the same. It's like there was just big manufacturing places and warehouses, and you just order a building and they build it like Lego or something.
Yeah. So
you need 15 columns and a bell tower and blah blah blah. And
so this is interesting. So I looked up the quarry that most of that sandstone was meant to come from, and this is it. This is the quarry. There's
this is going to be big, right? It's going to look like the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, and that's the machinery that they had available.
Hang on, we can't see.
Okay.
Let's sit on the video.
All right, let me stop share and then reshare. So can you see that?
Yep.
That's the people at the same time period at the quarry with the technology they had to like get this sandstone out of the ground. Like, I mean, guys.
And that's just a jackhammer type thing.
Yeah.
That's not going to cut square blocks.
And it's all manual,
It's just like.
And look, these guys don't look at them. They're wearing like shirts and, they don't look like they're having too much of a hard time, do they?
No. It's like these two dudes in the suits are looking at the camera, and the dude in the background is looking at the rock wall going, oh, that's what rock is. Okay.
Yeah, I know. So I did look at the quarry, and like, they're basically, nothing that you could.
I mean, you think if they're saying that's the quarry, imagine the amount of rock they would need to take out of it just for that one building, and then they'll also say, oh, it was for all the buildings with that, granite or whatever it is, sandstone in it. But you see, and then you see quarries like that, like they're tiny. Looks like someone's just like landscaped their backyard.
Yeah. Well, this is the Wrights quarry is actually the quarry that they said the sandstone came from. So this is what it looks like basically today. So, guys, it's just another weird foible. So I actually looked up. So Brisbane was actually founded in 1824. So this is it. So really that structure, according to when Brisbane was, inverted commas, founded, was 100 years afterwards. But I thought it was interesting because when I asked who founded Brisbane, it says it was actually, I love this, while most residents think of blah, 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 Society of Queensland believes Captain Henry Miller is the man who actually discovered the city of Brisbane in 1825. So the word discovered is probably the truest part of this podcast today. Founded is not the word here. Discovered is much more appropriate. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I did a show with Gary from Truth Hurts, and he found a photo of Sydney dated 1675 or something like the 1600s. And it's fully built out, like with buildings and everything on it. And it's like, did they just forget to undate that one? Because this is the thing. This is what's got to have happened, right? When Brisbane discovered, right, with buildings like this in it. Look at the marble there, right? Yeah. This is inside the town hall.
This inside, yeah.
Like these had to have been functioning cities, right? I mean, so the 1600s may have all been functioning,
absolutely,
fully functioning. So, and we may have those, because I think all the time about all these photos and pictures, and we don't know when they're from. We just know that someone's written a date somewhere. That's it. We don't know how old they are. So half the stuff we could be looking at could be from when they were functioning, because we have this strange thing of, the cities, it's all within like 50 or 60 years, right? We have like the perfect cities with adults, no kids, the destroyed cities, and then the repopulated cities, rebuilt and with kids again.
Yep, absolutely.
There's something wrong with that timeline.
100%. And I actually Googled, I wonder if I can bring it up now. I actually Googled construction of that building. Let's see if I can bring it up now. And there's some really weird photos. Did you just see that? Is it working?
Yeah.
All right. So this apparently is the construction of the Brisbane City Hall.
Well,
yeah.
In what was it, 19? 1928?
Yeah, so apparently they started in 1910.
1910.
So that's like, these photos that we get, like,
look like 1910, does it?
No, and it doesn't look like the same building either.
Well, it doesn't really. It could be that could be anything.
Yeah. This one's interesting. So this is apparently the construction of the City Hall. So the deconstruction.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, see that, look right here in the front here, there's that little dome structure, that tower.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist anymore. And this street, the streets that are around it and these buildings, it looks very different from what it does today. Like, this is this looks wrong. It doesn't look right if you stand there.
Well, look at the angle on that street. Oh, that's two streets, is it? The sort of white in a white. Yeah, that's not the streets there today, is it?
Yeah. And
that's the thing. They can just put any photo in and go, oh, look, there's a clock tower. We'll get that and we'll just write this on it. Mm-hmm. And everyone just believes it.
Yeah, I know. It's really frustrating, like this. I mean, it's just, the vanilla skies, the building cut in half, and then these like random, this sort of like construction. What would you even call that? Like scaffolding and.
Well, they look like big cranes, aren't they, on top?
Cranes, that's it, cranes.
Cranes, yeah. And I've seen this on a lot of photos. I actually did one on the White House, and there's literally they say in 1924 they say that they built the second or the top story on it, but there's photos from 50 years before that with that top story on it. Yeah, and so it's just all crap because. The other thing you find is when you look at these stories, like if you look at, you get a story on Brisbane Town Hall, you'll go to Wikipedia and it'll say, blah, 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 built this day, took this long, by this person, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Then you'll go and you'll look at a history page for Brisbane about it and you will read the exact same words. Yep. Because every single person, they just go to Wikipedia and they go, oh, that's the truth. And then they just share the same crap. And this is the problem. This is why everyone believes it, because there's no alternative viewpoint. Yep, agreed. So this apparently is the City Hall. Apparently this photo was taken in 1923. So like considering it was apparently opened in 1928 and this is it in 1923, like completely gone. Interestingly, in this photo, look at those, on the side there. Like it's like buried architecture on the side, but so basically what they're suggesting, and look at all the buildings around it. I know, right? It's fully built out, right?
So we've basically been here like a couple of decades, and look how extensive Brisbane is. Like literally meaning like 100. So if we got there in was it founded? It was founded, 1824.
1828 or 24.
Yep. So we're looking at 100 years, basically. So in 100 years, there was enough of a population in Brisbane to build around this construction, all that you can see, like there's a massive infrastructure of a city in 100 years when they didn't have anything. Like, it's not like, today we could tangibly think, okay, 100 years, it's a lot of time, if we've got access to everything, but they had access to nothing. So they had to build all the quarries and build all the factories and they didn't have materials to build the quarries and build the factories. Power tools, no electricity, no roads, nothing linking them to any other major center. Like,
and they didn't know where anything was, and they had no tools to help them. They just had to walk around and hope they found the clay and the marble and the sandstone and everything, right?
So this to me looks like an absolutely fake picture. Like this makes absolutely no sense. No. I don't believe that this is the beginning.
Look at the bottom story there, right? That front wall, that's finished.
Yeah.
Right. That's been like the window that's a finished bit of the building.
Yeah.
You don't build a building. You don't do the foundation and go, okay, now we're going to completely finish that front part of the wall before we build the rest of the building. Yeah. Yeah. You build the frame and then you go in and you put the facading on it, but that front bit's already facaded.
Yeah, and the length of this image is much smaller than the actual building.
It doesn't look, no. And it's too square. The other one's more rectangular, isn't it? See how wide it is at the front?
Yeah. So
and this is what they do all the time, and this is the problem, right? We don't know how real or fake any of these photos are, or the dates.
Yeah, it's true. We don't know. It's impossible to tell. But anyway, that's sort of like where it ended up.
My God, it's just
so
town hall, right, with a big phallic symbol on top.
Yep. That clock tower. So this is it from the air.
Massive, mate. Oh my God, and look at the dome it's got.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's an epic dome in the middle of it. Yep. Oh, of course, because same in Melbourne, like they're always these big, massive buildings have these epic domes in the middle.
It's very similar to the library, isn't it?
Yes, very similar to the library. Yep. Same sort of style of architecture. Absolutely, 100%. And if you look at the bottom of this picture, you can see the angle of the ground there, like it's going down. Now, if you compare that to the construction photo we just saw, like it was being built on flat, level ground.
Yeah.
You know, but here you can see very clearly that at the bottom there, it's going into the hillside.
Straight off,
yeah. Why would they do that?
Well, you can't do that. Literally, you'd have to build it and then go back in and backfill it to make it look sunk.
Yeah. So that's the image that's behind you, Cambell. So
see, images like that, they just, to me, that could be 300 years ago. It's just got that look, doesn't it?
Yep. And it could be anywhere in the world.
It could be anywhere in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Like certainly not in a colonial continent that's starting off. So then this, just to like cover some other aspects of Brisbane. So, and I'll just stop sharing so I can reshare, because then I moved on to just these are quicker ones. Okay, let's get it up. This is the Bank of New South Wales off Queen Street in Sydney. I keep saying Melbourne because
it looks the same.
Tartarian hunters. Well, can you see that? Hear that?
Yeah. Brisbane City, staring at the New South Wales Bank.
So you can see again, we've got these huge columns, same sort of design, same sort of facade. Apparently the history on this one, it was demolished. So apparently there was a building there, and then in a 2-year period, exactly the same time they were working on the town hall. So it was like 1928 to 1930. So like Brisbane just wasn't putting all their resources behind one massive monolithic fucking like feat of architecture. It had simultaneous ones going on at the same time. And this is the Bank of New South Wales. And so in 2 years, they demolished, deconstructed, and then rebuilt this. Like, come on. We couldn't even do that today.
No. And what's the point of those columns?
What is the point of those columns? The huge doorways, like why?
Massive doorways, and they always cover them in. Oh, look at that one down there.
This is
and those two as well. And that's the thing, you know, you say 2 buildings, but if you looked into it would be many more. We know it'd be probably tens of buildings and hundreds of houses and you know, smaller buildings and infrastructure and railways and
all at once. There's
no way that the numbers all at once. There's no way.
So you can see,
and the other thing is it's all on the grid, isn't it?
Yep.
You know, it's all, you know, just it doesn't make sense that it would be on a grid when they're like just apparently randomly building buildings.
Yeah, all very organized, just like Melbourne. Everything's structured. They've got these buildings. I mean, look at that. Hello. That's just... This is now the casino in Brisbane. It's the old Treasury building. And same thing. I found one construction photo, you know, half of it's cut off, and the same friggin' what are they called? The scaffolding, the cranes, the same, and the few, you know, dudes standing around looking like they've done nothing except build this whole thing. You know, to build this thing, you would literally need thousands of people involved all the time.
And so many different skills.
Yeah.
Like so many different skills.
And the amount of like transportation you would need coming in and out of that site.
That's another thing is we never see warehouses.
Yeah.
I mean, not what do they want us to think, that they're literally cutting the brick from the quarry and then dragging it all the way and leaving it this building. There's got to be a massive system of warehouses and stuff and transportation and all this kind of stuff.
And like literally the photo that I did find, is it had 2 horse and carts outside of it. And I'm just thinking, you motherfuckers, like how dumb do you think we are? Like seriously, like if you look at the access to transportation, there wasn't semi-trailers, there wasn't trucks like we know it today. There was literally, if you were lucky, like a postman's carriage and, you know, a buggy and cart. And this, we're meant to believe that we managed to cart by horses on these wooden wheeled carts, the materials that make up this, and then engineer it, and then construct it, and then make it so seamless that you can't even see any of the construction. Like there's nothing rough here.
Nah.
There's nothing hand carved or rough. This is prefabbed, beautifully replicated decorative features the whole way through it.
Yeah.
And it's massive.
Yeah.
Of course.
It is. I mean, I was looking at Angkor Wat the other day and all those kind of things, and with all the big faces and that, and literally you see the blocks that they've put together to make it's all completely prefabricated. So I think that's what we're looking at. You know, that's why we keep seeing things like the arches, the port windows, the columns. They've all got a function. They all do something. They're all components to the machine, right? They've got to be. They've got to be. It's like when we build a motor, you know, we need whatever. We need cylinders and valves and all this. They're the parts to that machine, I think, because that's the only thing that makes sense is, you know, if we think that people are out there like actually, you know, shaping these columns and everything on site for every single build, there's no way. There's no way. It's just no. It's got to be printed maybe, but definitely prefabbed at least. Yeah,
I agree with you. I think you said it perfectly. Like the buildings that we study with the Tartarian consciousness, they are machines. They're like every single aspect of them is creating or facilitating the energy. It's facilitating technology we don't understand, but that is constantly referred to in mosaic floors in cathedrals around the world, constantly alluded to in the geometric designs that we see in the old artwork. And you know, these buildings function, the columns had a function, the beautiful facades had a function, the materials had a function, the depth had a function, all of it had a function. And to this day, there's no way we could replicate or even comprehend what these buildings actually gonna do again. We don't know.
Definitely gonna do again.
I
mean, I'm just looking at that ironwork too, just the ironwork. I mean, they painted that one green, it's normally black, but that's the same all over the world too. You know, that's all come from the same place too. It's so, we're definitely looking at a worldwide civilization that was built on tech. And even if they can think they can explain how they built it, they can't explain all the features and why they're there and what use they have. They can't explain it. Well, they won't.
No. Exactly. Like, and I think that's where we get the Freemason agenda. You know, I know we talked about this before, but that's sort of the middle management being the Freemasons with their whole symbology being architecture. I believe it was, you know, the estates were handed to these family bloodlines, and it was their job to deconstruct, reconstruct, set on fire, burn down, destroy. I mean, basically, I think their mandate was to get rid of anything that alludes to this this older history of ours and remodel it and then re-educate and rewrite the history on it. And that was sort of their mandate.
Which kind of makes you think, what was around 100 years ago? If they've left us with stuff like this, what did they get rid of? I mean, we've seen like, you know, things like Penn Station, and that apparently had like 5 foot thick walls, and they had to make special machinery to knock it over because it was so big. Imagine what was out there that they've been destroying. But I think, you know, these are the gods, right?
Yep.
You know, the small g gods, right? They come down, they rule us, they get their little, you know, palaces and temples, and everyone gets told to go worship them.
Yeah, exactly.
You can go now. You can go and buy the Queen's washing up liquid.
Yeah.
Did you hear, Kelly? $20 for a bottle of Queen's washing up liquid, and you can pretend that the Queen washes dishes like for $20.
Yep. It's
and
crazy.
Doesn't have a dishwasher. It's literally it's like, what the hell are you people? $20.
Let me show you something. So this is I show you this. So this is the picture that's behind me, right?
Yeah.
So this is Brisbane, a representation.
1888.
Now, first of all, how the fuck did someone even illustrate this perspective in 1888? Come on, like
sitting, yeah.
Like we couldn't do that. It's just a big feat of the brain. But like if you look at like this is 1888. So really they're saying that Brisbane was discovered 60 years before this roundabout. And look at it. Like look at the buildings that they're illustrating. Like these are not small buildings. Like these are massive buildings.
That white thing in the front, that's like 5 stories above ground.
Yep. Like
and that river, right? That's not a river.
Mm-mm.
It's got man-made edges, right? That's a canal. So, not that they're going to say that, but we have to. If that's true, then they have to have dug the canal as well.
Yeah, exactly. And look at the grid it's on. Look how organized. Look at the perspective that they engineered this coming from scratch. And then, we're looking at these massive buildings. Like these are huge feats of architecture onto themselves. This is not something that you can just like whip up.
And one's right on, and they do it all the time, right on the waterfront, on the canals.
Yeah.
That's a hard place to build.
Yeah.
Lots of foundations have to be perfect, or it all falls over.
Exactly.
It's just dumb. But how did they draw that, right?
Yeah.
That's a good drawing. When
it's a good drawing.
Perspective and everything. It's perfect.
And look, there's some real telltale signs. We skim in here. Look, we've got some electricity over that bridge, and look beside the bridge, we've got some. That's one of our Tartarian style power grid lines back in 1888. Like
1888. Yeah.
When did the first
trams? There's a tram down there already running.
Yes, and I was about to say that. System. Yep. I actually Googled it because I had no idea that Brisbane had tram line.
Yeah, every city in Australia did, and they took them out of everywhere except Melbourne.
Yep. So Brisbane had a tram line. I did not know this. So right up to sort of the 1970s, they had trams all the way through Brisbane.
Yep. And now that's only 50 years ago, right? And most people don't even know that anymore. That's only Melbourne had trams. There's every single city, every old world city had trams. They all had them. Yeah. So
I mean, it really shows you how quickly history can be changed, eradicated, and completely taken out of our consciousness. Like I grew up around Brisbane, that was our big city adventure. And I had no idea that it had a tram. It had established tram lines going through it. No idea.
And think about the cost of that, right? Brisbane, established 1824. So just so they got the trams in, just so they got them in by, 1850. If they wouldn't have, let's go early. That means they put all that money in a brand new thing, had them for like 100, 120 years, and then ripped out everything, all the infrastructure, everything had to come out. And why? It was free transport to get people around the city. It worked well, wasn't polluting, and now there's cars everywhere. There's gridlock, and no one can drive, and got lots of pollution.
I love that. I love that, Campbell. Like, that's just such a good point. Like, we see this over and over again when we do this research, is they're constantly ripping out and demolishing major infrastructure for no reason. Like, why would you do that? What benefit is there to eradicate something that's like totally working? And why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just like keep expanding on it and improving on it? Why would you rip it out? It's such a gorgeous feature of any town.
I mean, and that's how they had it, right? They had their boats in the canals, which seemed to be more for transport of goods, but in the smaller one they would have had things. But then they have the trams to get around the cities. Then you have your trains, right, that go from city to city, and then you have your airships that go, across the ocean or for longer trips. And it was all pretty much, free use technology, non-polluting, and it all worked.
Yep.
It's not like the trams lines were there and it's like, oh my God, everyone's driving cars. There's too many cars. We just can't have the trams anymore. No, hardly anyone had cars, and they ripped the whole system out and went, now you've all got to buy cars. Sorry, you've got to buy, and we know where this all comes from. It's all those same families that you mentioned who, got given everything. That they got given the oil industry, right? Petrol, want people buying petrol, so we're ripping out all the free trams. Now you can buy our petrol office.
Yeah, and to give that whole impression that electricity wasn't available and it wasn't free, and it definitely wasn't free, and they had to eradicate so much, like, from the technology. If this whole culture behind me was built using that free energy that we don't really even understand yet, like, and it was built and it was available, and obviously you can dramatically evolve a culture if you've got free energy. Like, hello, of course you can. If you've got a little thing that's running all the power you could possibly need, then really the sky's the limit when it comes to creating things in the physical realm. So they had to like turn all of that off, and then actually take away all the elements that may have indicated to us today that was available and free. So because of this story of electricity, it kind of existed, and it all goes. But I mean, look what's happening at the moment, in the US with the price of fuel. I mean, if there were trams in all the cities, right, no one would care. Yeah,
it wouldn't affect
precisely.
anyone.
Yes,
it wouldn't affect anyone, and that's what they want to do. So, of course, they want to hide everything from us. But the other thing is, they rip this all out, and it's control, right? Look what they're doing to people, and in Australia too. Everywhere probably petrol's going up, but now they can control people. They can control their businesses. Like they can, if they want to keep people at home without a mandate, well, shit, just make it $50 a litre, and no one's going anywhere.
It's true, Cambell. And like when I was out there, out on the farm, petrol in Moree, which is like a regional town near me, went up to $3 a litre. So that happened in the last 2 weeks. So, I mean, there's definitely a movement there. And I did notice that here in Melbourne, when the mandates were on, they just like cancelled the trams. Like they put a curfew on the trams. They cancelled the trams. If there was any sort of protest going on, all the tram lines were stopped. No trams in and out of the city. Like, they used the tram network to control us in that moment. Like, they really did shut down people's access to getting in and out of the city. But like, if you think about trams compared to trains, I mean, the construction around trains here in Melbourne all the way through lockdown was epic. Like, they're building, apparently, it's all bullshit, but apparently they're building these huge underground train lines all the way through Melbourne City, connecting all of these, suburbs, and like constructing, deconstructing, discovering, releasing, opening, whatever the fucking right word is. Like, but they've like, it literally is like billion dollar projects. When we have this beautiful functioning tram system already in place, it's like for some reason they're just like the trams, they're not good enough. They're old school. They're not, you need a train. It's just, it really does throw people off the use of what we already have here and how completely functioning is. It's almost like our town city halls are designed now to complicate, like their purpose is to create problems, which mirrors problem, reaction, solution, and complicate everything, and then have billions of dollars go into that. And it's just
I agree. And I mean, we don't even, like I said, we don't know what's going down there. If they're just opening up and redoing tunnels, it might, maybe that only costs them $500 million, right? But they say, oh no, it's $2 billion project. Well, where's that money go? We don't know, right?
No, we don't.
It's just another way they steal money.
Money.
It's the same old. We know it's just all control, isn't it? It's all to do with them trying to control us, but it's clearly starting to falter.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, here's some pictures from that Bank of New South Wales. I just did a quick Google search, but then I thought to myself, like, because I came across this picture here of the Great Fire in Brisbane, the Great Fire of December 1st, 1864. And then I thought, of course, Brisbane had a great fire. Duh, like, and but you compared,
it's a city.
Exactly. And then I went, well, that's so interesting. So I wonder if I went to the Great Fire of Brisbane, if I went to the Great Fire of, say, Melbourne, would there be one? And then did they all kind of have there's Melbourne, the Great Fire of Melbourne, you know, like these images. Yep.
1897.
Yep, 1897. Like these 1897, apparently like all these buildings in Melbourne came screaming down. And then I read the Great Fire of Sydney. And of course, up it comes the Raging Fire of Sydney, 1890. And I was like, yep. So basically around the same period, across the whole of Australia, they literally set fire.
This is the phoenix.
Yep.
Like this is their phoenix, right? But born from fire, they go and destroy the old world and then birth their bloody crappy creation in its place.
Yep, exactly. So basically in the same period, so there's a Great Fire of London, of course. That was 1666.
1600s, yeah.
Yep.
Gosh, I'm going to have to look at, is there one of Perth? The Great Fire of Perth?
Let's have a look.
That's got to be, right?
Oh, it's got to be. I don't know how old.
Hang on. We haven't got one.
Bushfires. When did Perth get discovered?
1828, I believe. Around there. Doesn't look like, maybe it was Fremantle they burnt. But Perth, I'm going to have to do another video. Perth is, like, we've got some good buildings, but it looks like it got smacked and a lot of it got knocked over by something. Maybe it's a flood. Maybe we had a great flood of Perth, or
we'll have a look at Perth.
Fight, or
the Great Fire of Canberra.
What's that one? Fire.
I was looking at Canberra, but Canberra's relatively. That was the great history of fire history.
Well, yeah, they tell us Canberra was built, don't they? That's newer. I haven't had a good look at Canberra, really.
No, me neither. That's definitely a show we could.
I mean, old Parliament House definitely looks old world.
Oh, hello, history time.
Oh, what Canberra. The hell is that? Oh, that's that lake. I was doing that. Lake George, is it? Lake George?
Yeah, Lake George.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a drawing of someone who they were going to put the capital there. It's just north of Sydney, but then they went, oh no, we're going to put it in Canberra.
Wow, is that what Canberra used to look like?
And it literally says it's a view from like a certain building.
My God.
And and I've looked at Lake George. There's nothing there now. It's so.
Wow.
I don't know if that's real or not, but it looks very very detailed, right? If it's just made up. And this is the thing, right? Because look at those fires. That's all they would need to do, right? Just burn it, smash it over, not tell anyone it's there. And then, within 10, 20 years, people forget about it. But yeah, look at that thing. It's literally like an old world.
I'm just fascinated. I've never seen it.
You've never seen that photo? Yeah, isn't it bizarre? Look at the tower. Look at that building at the front that looks like the building we were just looking at, right? The town hall.
Yeah, absolutely.
Except its tower's about.
Fuck yeah! Oh my God, that looks exactly like the town hall,
doesn't it?
Yeah. Wow, Campbell, that looks exactly like Brisbane Town Hall.
And look at that thing in the background.
Oh my God, that looks like friggin' Camelot.
It looks like the middle bit looks like the library from Canada. What is it? Ottawa, I think, up where their capital is. That massive library they've got. I don't know if you've seen it, but it looks like that. But that's ridiculous, right? And look at the size of the people down there. There's 2 people.
Yep.
So everything's big.
Wow, I've never seen this, and that's just astounding. So wow, so people don't just draw these sorts of pictures just for the sake of it. This is someone's was illustrating what they saw.
I agree. I mean, you're an artist, so you know better than me, but that just doesn't. If that was drawn as like something that they were trying to give to someone, as like, this is our proposal, it would be a lot more technical. That's like a painting. Like, it's not a technical drawing.
That's unbelievable. That's just crazy,
isn't it? And what does it say down the bottom? What does it say in the white there?
It says the Federal City Lake George, New South Wales, AD 1920, view from the Governor General's residence.
There you go. So now, why would they be saying it's a view from the Governor General's residence if it was a technical drawing?
Wow, that's blown me away.
Is that
that's
bizarre?
Just...
I found that about a year ago, and I was just like, "What the hell is this?"
Oh my God, Campbell! Like, to think that was our continent. That was the glorious continent of Australia. Like, holy shit! And I mean, does that not just reflect every gorgeous ancient city around the world that we drool over in Europe? We desperately want to go and visit and see and go and explore. And that was Canberra. And now Canberra's this fucking crappy, flat,
demonic,
disgusting, unimaginative realm. I'm sorry. I'm just, hello guys. Are you fascinated by this? I think if I haven't seen this, a lot of you also.
Look at the size of that building at the back compared to the ones at the front.
Yeah, far out.
Massive, isn't it?
Like, I mean, God, destroying this is just...
The newly christened capital of Australian Commonwealth. I mean,
I don't know. Let's just click on that. I don't know what it's saying, but let's see what this website says. So until the 1890s, Australia consisted of 6 separate colonies. They had their own parliaments, their own administrations with different policies, blah, blah. They ran their own separate armed forces. They issued different postage stamps. So there's like 6 different civilizations, basically.
Yeah. Self-functioning cities.
Yeah.
And then they blah, 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 had to get a capital.
Wow. So they're saying from 1901, the white population in Australia was 3.8 million. Like, that's across Australia. I mean, of course, all this shit's just made up. I mean, there's no reference point. But Canberra was an obscure village on the river Molonglo, 150, long Aboriginal history. So, like, for them to say an obscure village and then show a picture like this, I mean, what are you talking about? So, what else does it say?
Isn't it bizarre they've used that picture?
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, is that them just like taking the piss, or are they like, is this they have to show us, but make it, unbelievable?
Wow. So it's saying in 1911, the federal minister campaigned for Canberra and organised an international competition to see 130 entries. Yep, that's right. And fucking Walter Burley Griffith won. Names suggested for the new city included Captain Cook, Shakespeare, Paradise, and Olympus.
What?
That's what it says here. Names suggested for the new city. Paradise or Olympus.
Paradise or Olympus.
Well, that makes sense considering what it actually looked like.
Yeah, exactly right. It would explain all the statues of Olympic gods and all the buildings. Holy dooly.
Wow. Olympus. Fuck.
What was going on here?
Yeah, what
did they find? Was there people left? What was it? I mean, clearly, if there were, that they had to have been,
let's see what this is.
Not in their sort of full state, because they seem to have been conquered pretty easily. Or was there a natural something happening too long before that?
So they reckon that this picture was an artist's impression of Canberra in 1920.
Yeah.
1920. So the buildings we've just looked at in Brisbane were around being constructed in 1920, right? Yeah. So like to see this as Canberra in 1920, like, makes total sense. So let's just say what they have to say. But Olympus, like, I've never heard any of this.
No. Like, what's that got to do with Australia? Olympus is
so what? All right. Link, blah, blah.
Barber's Creek. That area.
I'll just.
Did that say 40 towns? Oh my God.
Where?
40 towns applied.
40 towns. Yep.
So I mean, that just shows you as well, right? In 1900, there's at least another 40 towns just in New South Wales.
Yep.
And all the cities and blah, 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 blah.
So they're basically suggesting that pre-1920, Canberra didn't exist.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying here. There was a competition to design Canberra, and before that, nothing was there. Oh, and then, of course, we can look at Armidale and Tenterfield, which, like, we'll go through in a minute. But I'm just going to leave that there for a second for you all to, like, astoundingly look at Australia from the 1920s. Holy shit, have we missed out?
I know, right? I know.
So that, like, this whole thing about the fires and like burning, I didn't even know, like, even that's not even real, Campbell, because how do you set fire to a building like the one behind you?
It's like, not, maybe some kind of plasma weapons or something that give the same look.
Yeah, absolutely. It can't
because
be
the other thing you see is in the fires is you'll see completely destroyed building, like they've been hit, the walls are knocked over, and fire doesn't do that. And next to it will be an untouched building.
Yeah.
So it's like it's directed energy weapons, right?
Similar to our fires today, right?
Exactly. Yep. I mean, look what happened, and was it called Paradise in California?
It was, yes.
Yeah,
Paradise.
Had trees standing with no burnings, and right next to a house that was demolished, apparently burnt to the ground.
And according to, I think it was David Wilcock. He's an interesting character, David Wilcock. I'm just not sure where to place him anymore. I used to love David Wilcock, and his books were fantastic, and they go through time loops, but he's so full on about the space globe model. I don't know. Anyway, he's a question mark now, but he was someone I really loved reading. And he said that the Paradise was actually the home of an ET race that had been here since the 50s, and they were living in Paradise in harmony and completely for a long time, and they were here in service to humanity, and they all got killed in that fire. In fact, he alluded that the fire in Paradise was primarily aimed at destroying them.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's just a mental note.
Puts a different twist on it, doesn't it? Like good sort of rulers, which would make sense, not rulers, but good race of people that could build all this stuff, and then got attacked and fire. I mean, especially if we're talking like plasma, right? If they can throw something at a building that sticks to it and burns, and that's how they're doing this kind of stuff, I think. Yeah. And it's just all under the guise of war, civil war, all these kind of things. It's all just destruction. I mean, even like Nagasaki, right? The atom bombs. You look at the city before then; it was fully Tartarian. But didn't suit their narrative, so they just had to wipe it out. And
so, do you actually believe we have nuclear weapons?
Well, no, not as in radiation nuclear. They're just big explosions. I think there's different weapons. I mean, I think they've definitely got sound weapons and stuff that they can use, and different stuff we don't know about. But we've got it's like everything, right? We've got no proof of nuclear, because the big thing about nuclear is the radiation, right? The fallout and all this. But I mean, look at Chernobyl. Yeah. Like, hello. And the one in Japan. Oh, that was going to destroy the world. Well, hello. Just nothing.
So I did a deep dive when I actually, it was when I like came across the idea that the earth was flat, which was like in about 2016. Have I told you this story, what happened to me? So
probably not.
In 2016, I've been like conspiracy rabbit hole since I was about 21. And in 2016, someone gave me a documentary on flat earth. And I was like, oh yeah, I watch all documentaries. So I just thought I was going to watch a historical documentary about the earth. And then at like 2 hours later, I'm like, get fucked. If I don't even know the shape of the realm that I stand on, that's it. And I was so mad at God. Like I had never had I sworn or yelled at the creator before, but that was like my line. I was like, if I have been in service to you my whole fucking life and I don't even know the shape of the damn realm that I stand on, like, fuck you. I was so... Yeah. I took myself out into the bush. It was when I was on my farm by myself. And I was so mad, and I literally screamed up at the sky for like, I got it all out, you know, like for hours and hours. I'm like screaming at God, so angry that like after all these years and all of the like rabbit holes I'd been down, that this finally, that I didn't even know the realm, the shape of I just thought that was like outrageous.
Yeah.
And then so I'm yelling, and then I finally like get it almost out, and then bang, this lightning strike hits the ground about 20 meters away from me. Like there was no storm, it was some freak fucking event, hit the ground, and this sound wave, and my hair went back, and it was the loudest thing I've ever heard in my life. And it was literally like God had got those two things from the ambulance going on my chest, because I had been essentially electrocuted. Like every cell in my body was vibrating at a speed that I have never, ever felt in my life, like out of control, like I felt like if I held my hands up, they would be like this, but it was all internal. The sound wall was so strong, and the electricity so strong. It took me about 30 minutes to get myself calmed down from having that sort of sound and electricity go off beside me so close. Wow. And then in this perfect silence, this little voice in my head, it came up and said, "It's a hologram." That's what it said, like, it's a hologram. And I was like, okay, all right, thinking God is so funny that he's actually had to like resuscitate me, bring me back to life by electrocuting me, and then like reset me. Literally, I got a reset, a personal one. And yeah, then I was like, okay, it's a hologram. So I'd already heard of the holographic universe, but I'd never owned that knowledge in my life experience. So then I, of course, went straight in. So that's when I discovered flat Earth, like as a concept. And then, of course, after all of that, I'm like, okay, so now why did I just tell you that story? What were we talking about a second ago?
I don't know. It's such a good story. When you discovered flat Earth, Canberra, fires.
Yeah. So all right. So basically so when I went down that rabbit hole, I then wrote into Google, well, that's it. Nothing I believe is true. So show me the rabbit hole and everything. So I just made a big list of everything that I just take for granted at that point, like gravity, like nuclear bombs, the wars.
Nuclear bombs, that's what it was.
That's right. So I did a deep dive on nuclear bombs and came up with this idea that they actually don't exist. And the whole concept we have about fallout and radiation is a fear propaganda. That Nagasaki and Hiroshima were actually like air raids, like they were just air bomb raids. And the potential of the cancer fallout is actually frequency manipulation. Like it potentially could have been the fire bombs and then a sound bomb that fucked up everyone's,
hair falling out and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I agree. There's even photos of one of the first nuclear bombs they were testing, and it shows, and it's just like boxes of explosives, just this massive like heap of explosives. It's not a nuclear bomb, but even like John Lever was talking in his last couple of videos about, I think he's out in Nevada, in this sort of in the desert area, and they detonated nuclear bombs there in the 50s.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, were there Tartarian seas there? Were they just destroying whatever was out there?
Yeah.
Because they did it in Australia too, back in the 50s, didn't they?
They did. Yep.
So bombed out in the outback, right?
Yep, exactly. And they were bombing when I was at school on the Gold Coast. It was when they were like setting off underground nuclear bombs in the ocean around like the French were doing it off the islands. Yeah,
I remember that. I was out in, where was I? And I was in Cairns. That's right, when that was going on.
Yep.
Yeah, and everyone was losing their minds. Oh my God, they're going to destroy the earth and that. And
so, I mean, they have weapons, but they're not, I don't believe they're nuclear weapons. I don't believe we've even got our heads around the science of that. I don't think we know how to do that. I think we've got old tech that have given us some leftover weapons carried through maybe the Masonic lodges, that information. And I think it has the potential to deconstruct buildings like what's behind you. And that is not fire. Fire can't destroy sandstone and steel, like no way. Like not Yeah. Like these city centers that like everyone around that 1880, 90 mark here in Australia and collectively around the world all had a great fire. That's not like fire, like we know fire. Like,
no.
Yeah,
it's not natural. It happened all around the world, and then it hasn't really happened since, has it? It's like they cured it. The fire engine, the fire brigades. That's why.
Like, if we're talking about these like city centers being built out of like what we could have done ourselves, like corrugated iron and some tree trunks and
lots of
sure,
wood,
there could be fire.
wood and shit. Yeah, you can kick those things over.
I mean, I think if you and I did a show and just like typed in the Great Fire and then just basically put every capital city around the world. Yeah, we would literally get basically a timeline of about 20 years, give or take, where there was a Great Fire everywhere, and that Great Fire was some weapon that we don't know about today. That wasn't probably fire as in flames, but most likely a sound weapon or plasma weapon.
Something like that.
Yep.
Something.
Yeah.
I mean, because the buildings, so it's weird, isn't it? They look like they've been hit, from our perception, like bombs, because that's what we think, right? When you see walls knocked over and that, you think, explosion.
Yep.
But the walls just sort of crumble, right? Because all the bricks are just in the bottom in a pile. They're not exploded all over the place. So it's not a bomb. It's something else. It's almost like something that dries out the mortar, so it cracks and everything just sort of falls apart.
Yeah.
And just crumbles. It's definitely not being exploded out like a bomb. So but then this is a thing, right? They go, every country's trying to kill us. Everyone has to be nice, and if you don't go to war, then you're a weirdo and we'll all hate you. So give us more money, and we need to go test our weapons. And look, so we're going to explode nuclear bombs out in the desert, and everyone's like, okay, compliance again, right? So in the end, we go, okay, that's all right, and we don't know what they're doing, what they're blowing up, what they're testing, what they're destroying.
Yeah,
we just end up with some stupid story about, oh my God, we're look how powerful we are. Sorry, Japan, we didn't mean to blow you up. We'll give you some money. I mean, and how's that stupid story? It doesn't make sense, right? You're at war with a country. So you hate these people. You're literally killing them because you hate them.
Yeah.
So you blow up their cities and then you go, oh shit. Sorry, here, have $1 billion to rebuild. We'll help you. We'll give you our tech. We'll come in and because we didn't mean to blow you up. We're just trying to kill you. I mean, it's a dumb story.
Yeah, it's so
it
dumb. It
happens all the time, right?
Yeah.
War, reparations, and all this.
I know it's happening right now in the Ukraine-Russian thing. Like fucking hell. Like, how many times have we blown up those sorts of countries and then like gone in and with all the aid and all the, I mean, I think Scott Morrison's sent billions off to Ukraine.
Yeah.
Thing.
$400 million of coal.
Of coal, that's right.
Went the other day in the ship. It's like, what the fuck?
I know. It's just like, there's not one aspect of war that's not a crime. Like you're literally murdering people and committing genocide against a nation that's not yours. You're invading, you're taking over, but primarily you're just murdering people. Like it's just murder. Like war is murder. There's no justification for war ever. And it is complicated right now when we look at, say, the Patriot movement and the Trump movement, like which are this massive insurgents, but he really rebuilt the military. And like, I would like to think that rebuilding was to basically take, that was the workforce they needed to take down this agenda. But, rebuilding the military and making the military like the finest in the world again, like, it's just like, it's still just a killing machine.
Why? Yeah. Why? If it was different, if it was changed to like, so it was, they didn't have guns and they went around helping people and rebuilding and that, then that, like a Red Cross, not that that's what they do, but like a volunteer go and help people, that'd be different and that'd be good. But I've never understood it. And most people who do it, especially in America, are Christians.
I know.
And it says thou shalt not kill.
I know.
It says
it's
that in
really...
the Bible. That's pretty much killing, like murder.
Yeah.
If you kill someone you don't know, that's murder. That's not self-defense. Pretty sure that negates you from getting into heaven in the Christian Bible.
It does.
Like, what are you people doing?
Yeah, just because you've got a military uniform on, it doesn't mean you can still murder people. It makes no sense. And same with the police. And normally I would have said, well, like if the army were the SES, that would be marvelous. But we've seen the SES not at work right now and like being controlled like, every other thing on this realm. And like no charity really comes in there if it's like, all this notion of aid, all this notion of like peacekeepers. It's just all part of the fucking movie script.
It's just another way to rob us. Because I was thinking, like, we know what happened, in the Two Rivers, all that area. Nothing went in. And then what did they do? Like the following weekend, they had a massive on TV. I don't know if you saw it, a massive fundraiser.
Yep.
And all the SJW bands and that got up and they raised like $30 million or something. That was over a week ago. I have not seen or heard of 1 cent going to anyone, helping anyone. Even if it does, at least 50% of that money will just be eaten up by the corporation, the Red Cross or whoever it is, to pay their minions. But this is what people think, that this is what they do. Poor them. I can't be bothered. I don't even want to change the channel. I have to move. I'll just fucking give them $5. And now I'm good. I'm a good person. See, I'm helping. What did you do? I gave $5 to the Red Cross.
Yeah.
Come on.
I know it's a real drama because if people haven't learnt yet through the demonstrations of the fires and blah blah blah, that these organizations, like if you haven't learnt yet to just call up like the local milk bar and actually ask what they need, call a business, a real person, like
people to people.
You're just funding the next
the
flood.
Government. The system is the system. That's it. There's nothing in the system that is not the system.
Yeah.
We know what charities are. We know what all these things do. So I know I've had a couple of people recently ask me, should they get tested?
Oh yeah.
2 years in, they're like, this and this. Do you think I should get tested? And I'm like, who have you been watching for 2 years? It doesn't exist, people. It's a scam. It does not exist. Why would you get tested for something that doesn't exist and use a test that is provably that doesn't work?
Absolutely.
Sorry, rant.
Yeah, no, rant away. On that topic, I also had a look at the Great Floods. So I went through the Great Fires and then I went through the Great Floods. Like basically everyone's had a great fire and everyone's had a great flood, and it's all basically, this is Brisbane, it's all basically the same story over and over again. So we've literally there was 2, and it feels like worldwide, there was a rollout. There was like a rollout where they basically use weapons to create great fires all around the realm. And that was the first maybe destructive element of deconstructing these, amazing cityscapes. I mean, hello, look at the one in Canberra we just saw. I'm still mind blown by that. And then then it seemed to be followed because the floods come after. It seems the floods come next. And so I was just looking around and just thought, Campbell and I could do a fantastic show just following the great fires around the world and then the great floods. And so this is, Brisbane, and like, it's interesting now that we seem to be, at a similar time in history where they're utilized. So what I'm trying to allude to here is they have a technology that creates fire. Well, I don't even know if it's fire is the right word. They have a technology that is destructive, similar to fire, that they can blame on fire.
Yeah.
And they also have a technology that creates floods.
Definitely.
And we're seeing
it's tied to all the tunnels, right? It's got to be.
Yeah. So obviously, like, these elements, attributes are sort of like potentially built into the machinery that is our realm, our firmament, if you like. They're kind of built in. And I mean, I don't know. I mean,
the flooding, we know that they were controlling water. The old civilization, they'd mastered water everywhere.
Yeah.
And so
exactly,
they've got taken over and used in the wrong way, right, against us. And if you think of burning, well, not burning, but whatever they do to buildings to destroy them, these city fires, that takes out the buildings, right? A lot of the buildings they don't want. And then if they can flood it, that water's going to get in all the tunnels, all the places that they can't get to, right? And it's going to short out any circuitry that's in there. It's going to basically make things wet and start to break everything down, So it's kind of like a good plan when you think about it, isn't it? That's like some total destruction.
Absolutely. I'm just looking to see if there's anything on another great floods, Australia history.
Melbourne's got all.
Yes. Well, Melbourne did, right, here's 1891 Melbourne. All right, let's have a look. I'll put the sound up and see what they say.
Burak Road, South Yarra. Melbourne's no stranger to wet weather, but it's not often you see people rowing down Burak Road, South Yarra.
Look at that power line.
Rewind to 1891 and a single weekend of non-stop rain caused
nice wooden fence next
and nearly swallow up parts of low-lying suburbs. South Yarra, Paran, Collingwood, Richmond and South Melbourne were hit hardest. One newspaper report described how thousands of people travelled to South Yarra by tram or train to take in the curious scene. The Great Flood rendered more than 3,000 homeless and caused 3 fatalities. This is Punt Road, near Richmond Station. 2 large lakes formed.
Wait, let's just go back there for a second. So just to get a nice close-up of those powers. Look at the power.
Oh, there, yeah, wow,
1863.
Nice. And I can't see any lines. They look wireless too.
They do, don't they? Yep, wireless.
2 large lakes formed on the east and west sides of Chapel Street, and the view from Prince's Bridge, looking almost like a town rising up out of an ocean. Houses, businesses and factories inundated.
Looking like a town raised up from an ocean. Interesting.
The cleanup was epic, and communities rallied to organise fundraisers, like a fancy dress football match, a Bendigo City Brass Band concert, and a performance of the entirely new and original play, The Silver Bells. Donations came flooding in, with around £15,000 raised to help with the giant mop-up.
The government came flooding in. That's funny.
They've just excavated and there's a building under the ground.
Yep, check that out.
Hello.
Yeah, wow. So
that's a good one. I look at that fence.
So interestingly, like when we look at these flood
I'm gonna have to look into what there's got to be something in Perth. Some kind of catastrophe.
Well, like, so maybe I should put in Fremantle.
Yeah, Fremantle maybe.
Melbourne then, and like, because I just think about it, like whenever I look at these flood images, it's never the Tartarian structures that go under. It's always
the little houses and the
houses. Yeah, it's like, so that's really bizarre.
Well, maybe they were smart enough, right, to build them where they wouldn't get flooded.
Yeah.
Or they could have even just had infrastructure that drained the water away when it got close.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, look, I'm just on. This is irrelevant now. I'm just here looking at something cool. Melbourne, 1890s.
1896, everyone's wearing the same clothes. Where did all the clothes come from?
Look, to be fair, I feel like we're fucking wearing the same clothes today.
Yeah, pretty much. I know,
right? Come from Target or wherever the fuck from. Like basically the same factories in China, right?
Yeah, probably.
That's my head in. I hate our clothes. I hate our fashion today.
Come on. You get a choice between jeans and slacks. If you're
I tell you what, I look at Marvel movies, Campbell, and I'm like, that's what we're used to wear. Like, not this shit.
I know, right? But you walk around looking like that and people fucking think you're crazy. It's weird.
I know that you definitely get.
Isn't it weird that fashion is supposed to be they sort of say, it's about expression, but you wear something different to anyone else and wear your own fashion, and they don't like that.
No,
How dare you express yourself? You didn't say express yourself like that.
Oh, this is like.
And steam trains. There's something on steam trains. See, we call them steam trains, right?
Yeah.
We don't call them smoke trains, do we?
No.
What makes steam?
Yeah, water.
Exactly. What do they tell us they ran on? Fucking coal.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure they're steam trains. I'm sure they ran on water because they were free tech. And I found out the other day that there was a like an accident in New York in 1900, and it doesn't say why or anything, but they blamed the steam trains. Oh, it was the steam trains. So they basically went, no more steam trains. Destroy them all. Now everything's got to be electric.
Done. Same with the Zeppelin, right? There was one. Zeppelin. Yep, they blew up one Zeppelin. It was done.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they literally it was an effort to get them out of circulation.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, we've just been talking about the tram lines. So look at everyone's face. Just something. I don't know. I don't know.
They just look like deers in headlights, don't they? They don't look like they know what's going on.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. But I tell you what, the more like the year has gone on, Campbell, I mean, I don't know about you, but it feels like the Mandela effect has kicked into a new gear. And now, like, when I read these like historical accounts explaining all of this, like, I just am like, were these even here 12 months ago? Like, has history, is it altering to like change? And you know, like, if I had Googled this information 10 years ago, would I find these ludicrous storylines that just do my head in now about the competitions and blah, blah, blah. I don't know.
It's hard, isn't it? It's like, are they changing it all? Is this like some kind of AI that they're going like 1984, right? They're rewriting it as we go along, or is it a timeline thing? You know,
something's shifting. Hey,
something. I don't think I'm where I am because everything just looks. It's just getting too ridiculous. It's just like everything.
Yes,
like,
I agree.
Like everything, you know, and we're starting to see pictures like that, you know, Lake George one, and you know, we're starting to get this feeling that this isn't this is a recent thing. Everything was, I think it's more like everything was flowing to a certain point, and this change is a lot more recent than we think.
Yes, I agree. Something feels like it's shifted. Like, I mean, if we had looked at this information 10 years ago, I just don't think the same explanations would have been there. It's like, I just can't imagine, you know.
Are they there to wake us up?
Yeah, something.
Because it's so ridiculous.
Like, hello, that picture of Canberra, that feels like a full-blown Mandela effect. Yeah. Like, fully blown.
Where did that come from? And why would they print it? Why would they put it out if they found it?
Yeah.
They'd be like, fuck, get rid of that.
Yes, exactly.
Send it to the Vatican or burn it. Just like, get rid of it.
We would never even we wouldn't have. I feel like it's new. Like, I feel like
it's new. Yeah.
Newly available in some.
It's like that picture that Gary found from it's dated 1625 or something, Sydney, Australia. It's like, where did that come from?
Yep.
You know, we've had people trawling through stuff for 4 years.
Exactly.
Why didn't we find those pictures before?
Exactly. Hello. Like, that picture of Canberra, that took me 1 second to accidentally find that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
how does that happen?
How does that happen? I want to see. I'm just curious now. I'm going to just write in.
But I mean, it's like you were talking about with Flat Earth, you know, and when you go and talk to God, you know, you get an answer, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that's what's happening. We're asking lots of questions, so we're getting lots of answers, and everyone else who's not, you know, who's complying, not asking questions, they're not getting anything, and they're just falling. I really think that this split's happening. I really do. It's, you know, there's no way that we can all go together into a better world, because half the people are just, well, more than half, they're not ready. They're children. They've got to go do kindergarten again, you know.
It's I mean, it definitely is. I've noticed it. I'm feeling weird about it. Like, I don't look at this saying, like, when I find things and look for things, I'm just like, that's new. I shouldn't be able to find that so easily. I don't get it. How is that even available to me? Like,
and on Google,
right,
when it's supposed to be more and more censored and more censored.
Yeah.
How does this stuff pop out? That's why I like this AI. That I'm convinced there's a good AI and a bad AI. There's two different forces, if you want to call them AI. Who knows what it is, but there's definitely something out there on our side that's throwing out information at us and giving us hints and all this kind of. And they do this all the time.
Yep, make the names corporations.
Yeah, and also with movies they do it. So like El Dorado, if you try and research El Dorado, you just get that stupid Disney movie.
Yep, agreed. So
they do
annoying.
it all the time. It's fucking so annoying.
There's a Mount Olympus
Giants.
in Tasmania.
If you research giants, you get bloody football teams from America.
Did you know there was a Mount Olympus in Tasmania?
No.
Yeah, interesting.
Oh,
that looks like
I wonder if that's a Titan.
Yeah. Anyway. So, Campbell. Okay, so because we've been talking for a while now, let me just take it off.
I know, yeah.
Stop share. I think it's a long one. We're rambling, but that's fun.
Yeah.
So we were going to go through a little bit of regional Australia and have a quick look, but
yeah, I think we're probably over an hour and a half. Maybe we might do that next time.
Oh, let's just chuck some shit in now. Yeah, like, you got anything you want to bring up? You want to screen share anything?
I've got. Let me see. And I got it because your farm is near Inverell, is the closest.
Yeah.
So I went and had a bit of a look at Inverell, and it's tiny little town.
Yeah, it's about 12,000 population.
But what's there is pretty cool. New South Wales, where is it?
Yeah, so we can do a walk down, like there's Tenterfield, and then there's Inverell, there's Glen Innes, that's another one. There's Armadale. Let me go through. Yep. Yeah. So
this is
Inverell.
Like this, literally a tiny little town out. That's not the best pic. Out in the middle of nowhere, had a flood.
Ah, yes, had a flood.
But look at these.
Yeah.
How moist they are, and the same thing. Like both sides of the street, completely built out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is a bit short.
Yes. It was fascinating when I went through Inverell recently, like last week, like looking at through Tartaria, and you see all these buildings, and they're literally they're a smaller version, of course, like they're not major city centers, but they've all got the same style of architecture that we've been following all through the Tartarian journey. I mean, look at the banisters around those windows. Like there's so many of them in Melbourne, and like, just to put into context for everyone, like Inverell is really, honestly, guys, it's like in the bumfuck nowhere. Like, like it's not like you just go exploring out into the wildness and the bush and over the Great Dividing Range, and then 4 hours, into the heart of Australia, and then bam, we just like placed a little town here, and then we built it, and it's all in the same time period, like the 1800s, 1860s. 1901, children, fucking orphans.
Yeah. And of course, a wood building. This one they could build.
Yep.
And they love to show people in front of their wooden buildings. But I think this is the one where I've got some. Oh, look at that. What's that? Post office.
Yep.
Obelisk. And this is the thing, to build this. And a lot of people probably don't understand Australia because it is different to other continents. Like our towns, in any Australian state, you drive for an hour, 2 hours, you won't see a town.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing there, and then you'll come to a town.
Yeah.
So to build just one building out, they're so remote, these towns.
Yeah.
How would they get anything out there?
Exactly.
No roads, like weeks of travel to get a brick out there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just retarded. I mean, look at this town hall of Inverell.
Yeah, look at the tech. Look at that.
Free energy, clock towers, just completely built out. And
all right, so that picture, I've did a little video. Oh, well, there it is, Reese. I've got a little video of that. And look at the big, broad streets, gosh, and just dirt compared to,
massive.
There you go. The courthouse.
1886. right?
Hello. I mean, we could be in Melbourne. We could be in anywhere in Australia like this. There it is. Yep.
Look at this massive obelisk thing.
That's not there anymore.
Of course. Both sides of the street. You see it all the time, built out.
Yeah.
I just think I've got, there it is again.
Yep.
Oh, this was the fire, was it? Or, I think it was a fire.
Of course. Great fire, great flood.
Great
That's
fire
what we
of
do.
Inverell.
Yep. Oh, yeah, that's an ugly one. Yeah.
I found these, I just looked at this and you see these everywhere, right?
Yep.
With the 4 bits. That to me, I was looking at it and I thought, is that Hyperborea?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Doesn't it look like that?
Yeah, right.
That's
With the 4 land masses, you got the rivers and stuff coming out.
Yeah, because that's really ugly and weird.
It's a weird shape, but you see it a lot, don't you? It's in a lot of places, so it's got to be something to that.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Did it get? Yeah, this. So what it is they have these buildings, right? And look, 1886.
Yeah.
And then this is their pioneer village, and they go, no, these were the first houses built.
Yes.
And don't they love to do that, right?
Yeah.
And no doubt the date on this will be like 1885.
Yes.
And the courthouse was 1886.
Exactly.
You know, it's like.
And actually, Inverell's really interesting because they have this thing called the Pioneer Village, and they've moved all these crappy little buildings
houses,
into one spot, and you can actually walk around, and it's true. Like literally, the courthouse is 5 minutes in that direction. The Pioneer Village is over here, and they're basically the same time period.
Yeah. It's just one of those things. It's almost like they're trying to show us, like, can you not see? Hello, can you not see? Because this is next door, right? Same time period, and lights, and all this architecture, and all the things. But no. All they could do was wood, right? Wood and corrugated.
Those buildings are really quite nice. The Pioneer Village, they're actually, it's like, bark huts and gasoline.
Like
is those the most basic pioneering use of fire, and they really had not much, no tool. It was very basic. And then alongside it, exactly the same time period, we have these buildings, and like this is represented all through regional Australia. Like you can follow every single town in Australia follows exactly the same course, built out main street, like the towers, the clock faces, cathedrals, the ornate facades on these buildings, right alongside their version of the pioneer
these little
structures.
Yeah. And in Australia, again, they always put the balconies on, so they change it, give it the regional look. Australia's sandstone and balconies, pretty much.
Yeah, good observation.
And Italy, they do the Tuscan thing, and so it's all cultural. They just change the look of it, right? And I was watching a video from King Dave in New Zealand, and he was talking about he showed like a wooden building.
Yep.
A lot of these big wooden buildings that you look at and you think, God, that looks Tartarian, but it's wooden. They've just put the wood on the outside of the brick. Just covered it in wood. It's a brick building.
Yep.
So it's all a scam. And
I hadn't thought of that, Campbell. That's so
neither
smart.
had I. And I'm looking at it go, what? Hello.
Yes. That's such a good observation, because a lot of these main streets have got that classic Australian veranda, balcony, that ornate sort of ironwork that does disguise the front of the building. Very classic.
A whole new look. So,
and always those little beautiful dome urns on the top.
These things, they're everywhere, right? So I don't know, have they got mercury in them?
Yep. That's something. And like if you look at these pictures, and you can see all of the electricity that's going through these imagery, and right back to the basics. But honestly, if you then go to the Pioneer Village at the very same time period, they're basically running off, fireplace and gasoline, if they're lucky. They have nothing like, they're a culture that exists without power. And but right alongside a culture that's completely functioning.
It's almost like they've reversed it, right? Like this is the culture they found, like not us. And then all the bark huts are us, and they sort of try and say, well, The bar cuts were, they were just, the pioneers, the first ones, but all the buildings were really us.
Yeah.
But it's the other way around, I think. It's because look at the amount of electricity.
Oh yeah, heaps.
Wires, man. It's just everywhere.
Everywhere.
Which kind of makes you think that these buildings were wired up.
Yep.
They just didn't have the source of electricity. Whatever the source was had been broken, so they just run all these wires and hook them up, and they start working again.
Yeah, well, definitely 100%. You can see these images mirrored all the way up and down regional centres here in Australia. They all have a Masonic lodge. All of them have a fucking Masonic lodge.
Yeah.
Every single one, no matter how, I'm talking like townships of 500 people have a Masonic lodge. And I've scoured around rural regional New South Wales to the max, seen it all. They've all got Masonic lodges. They all have massive cathedrals. They all have courthouses and town halls that mirror this architecture. Every single one of them.
Yeah. And they've all got
that fucking weird, freaky thing. I've never thought about that, but hello, Mount Maru, fucking,
yeah. Exactly right. And of course, that's what BlackRock, right?
Yeah, yep.
What do they call it? Rupus Negro, is that what it's called? The BlackRock, basically, but the magnetic is literally called the Black Rock.
Yep.
This thing, and BlackRock, right? So this is, there's, I don't know,
And Inverell,
they're definitely not us. They're from somewhere else. These people that are doing all these things.
And Inverell was is famous for, it's called the Sapphire State. So it's actually famous for all the crystals and gemstones and sapphire that runs through and underpins the foundation. And I guarantee you, if we did a show on this, every regional town in Australia where there is a Tartarian structure already in place would have had some strong connection to gold or crystal and gemstones, like the three things that somehow were connected, and probably they were probably mining. Like there was some connection to those natural assets that would generate them moving and creating a township. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, they would have been building old towns near the resources, right? Crystals, obviously, energy.
Yep.
So and who knows? Are they remnants of crystal factories or cities that have been smashed? We just don't know.
Well, there's actually so much gold in regional Australia that it actually grows up through the gum leaves. Like the trees actually take it up into their arteries.
Yeah.
And like we have this deception that gold is really rare and really hard to find. Actual fact, it's fucking everywhere. Yep. And if we want to get sovereign with our wealth, one of the fun things we could do is become a frequency match for gold. We would be able to intuit it, and literally a foot under the ground. You've probably walked over millions of dollars of gold in your lifetime without even realizing it.
I mean, how often do you hear the story of, they just randomly found this nugget, worth 200 grand. If someone can find one of those, there's tens of thousands of them at least everywhere. But unless you're big or you've got a sense that it's there, then it doesn't.
And plus, weirdly enough, like if we look at our sort of history through the last 450,000 years, and we go through the story of Anu and the Anunnaki, like who we saw as our first set, I don't know if it was but the civilization of us, the natives, of our first idea of what God was, like they upgraded our minds, our beautiful brains, to mine for gold. Like they were here mining for gold. Gold was a big thing, and that's sort of like built into our DNA.
I think about that a lot recently, because the reason they did that, the Anunnakis, they had the Gidji, which were their, I think that they were supposed to be a different race, but they were basically the worker race.
Yes.
And then the Gidji started complaining and going, we don't want to do this. It's not fun. We don't want to dig gold. And it's the same as, I think there's a similar story in the Bible where it says, the people on earth started yelling and complaining and, at God and all this kind of stuff. And so he sent the flood. And I mean, it's kind of where we are now, right? Yes. Everyone's complaining, I don't like this. I don't want to keep going. This version of reality sucks. and everyone's yelling at God, like literally you were yelling at him out in the bush a
Yeah.
few years ago. But I just feel that same kind of energy, right? We're all like just saying, we're done, change it, and that's why everything's starting to happen.
Yeah, well, the Gidgee, right? Actually, wait a minute, let me stop share. I have just recently, like 2 days ago, read that they what they did that was so offensive is that they actually took human wives. So the Gidgee were like, they were an amalgamation between human, like the natives, and the gods upgrade. And they came down and did something that was completely against their
angels,
law, and took human wives. And then upon doing that, there was a war, and then in the Bible, the Igigi are meant to be the Nephilim. So like they're meant, who. But the Nephilim, according to Warrenon, are meant to be the giant trees. So fucking hell, man. Like either way, there was definitely a repetitive story about breeding with humans.
Yeah, definitely. This whole and that could easily be genetic engineering. You know, because we have that question of how do humans give birth to giants. I mean, that actually can be explained, but genetic engineering, right? Sin. Sinning with birds, humans born with sin. All this kind of weirdness, medicine.
I mean, like we have to keep the genetic code pure to God's creation. So when we alter that DNA through it either being seeds or animals or humans or whatever, it alters God's creation, and then we move away from the creator, and then we're aligned with the inversion of the creator.
We've accepted another creator, right? We've let them alter our creation, which means we're going to a different creator. And I think there's over 200 verses in the Bible, like a lot, that pretty much talk about genetics and DNA and do not ever mess with it ever. That's the ultimate sacrilege, the ultimate sin, because it's denying the creator, and that's what everyone's running around doing. Sorry, I'm not created perfect. I'm created broken. I need man's poison in me. Hit me, baby, one more time.
So when we eat genetically modified food, or basically 99% of what the food is available in our supermarkets, so it's really hard to avoid it. Like you're basically altering your DNA when you eat genetically, or when you drink poisonous water that's been genetically, all the heavy metals they rain down on us are all about genetic modification of the weather. Like every aspect of our lives, I talk about poison, but it's actually the main aim is genetic modification. And you know, the fluoride in the water is about genetically modifying your pineal gland, and you know, all of this stuff like changes. And so when you're like taking in the different medications or different apple juices, like, you know, you're actually signing up for genetic modification. And really the only way to, I mean, even our right back to the beginning of the show today, even our relationship with this technology and these computers and how it's affecting our brain is essentially genetically modifying us as well, which is why I think we're all getting to this state of wanting to fully outright reject it. Yeah.
Just like, you know, like with the Strongs, right? Like the natives did. You can see why they rejected, you know, technology.
Yes.
You know, because half the people, and someone was saying, you know, it's like, you know, they're trying to change us into robots and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, most people are already accepting it because they got this thing in their hand that is literally attached to them. They can't go outside without this phone, without this little thing that's going to beep and make them feel important. And they can't go anywhere, you know, and people literally, they go out and they say, oh my God, I haven't got my phone, and they lose their shit. That's complying. That's saying, yep, turn me into a robot. I'll take the first steps for you. Just let's do it. You know what I mean?
Agreed. And then you've got the opposite of that, like say CBD oil, which facilitates rising of your true genetic code. Like There's beautiful like remedies and oils and herbs and beautiful innovations now that are facilitating a cleanup and a rising and a not a resetting, but a refreshing of your true God-given genetic code.
Yeah.
So and like I think, you know, Cam and I are quite fascinated with all the different innovations happening on that level as we sort of like want to move our frequency and energy up higher and higher and higher. And it's a massive step away from the poisons that we have been exposed to. Yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing. And I'm not trying to say, you know, we're all going to die. I mean, obviously we know what they're putting in the food, but you know, we get the choice, you know, and if we focus on, oh my God, everything's bad, it's all killing me, then it's bad and it'll kill you. Yeah. But if you're like, oh well, I'm stronger, that sucks, but I know there's good stuff out there, I'm going to go find, you know, find some ormus or whatever it is. Then you know, we all have the choice. So this you know, the last thing we want to say is that we're victims. We always have the choice. You know, they're doing stuff, but we get to react, right? We get to say yes or no.
Yep.
So just keep saying no.
I mean, like, you know, no one in our audience should not be eating organic. Like, I mean, that's just like, you know, it's more expensive, you know that you'll spend an extra $50 a week just to cover the organics, but fuck, man.
If you save $20 a week on your food to eat shit food, and then you end up in hospital and you lose 10 or 5 years of your life and God knows how much money, what's cheaper?
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
you just
not
like
looking at it correctly.
I mean, organic's not the best mark, but at least it tells you there's no chemicals in it. You know, well, but I have to say,
I think it's intention. A lot of it. I think if you go out and you intend to find the right food, then you will.
Yeah.
And that could be, you know, the neighbors down the road who grow it in their back garden, or it could be a good organic shop.
Yep.
Or whatever. But I think it's your intention. You've got to be looking for it. If it's just back to Coles, back to Woolies, all you're going to get is the same, right? You can't expect any change from that.
And it's that same routine, you know, like you get caught up in this lifestyle, you've got 1,000 things going on in your head, you don't have time to walk, you know, through the food maps potentially on your neighborhood and pick the fruit that's like growing naturally. You've got to go to the supermarket. Like, so again, it's like us as a community shifting away from all of this. And I reckon the next 12 months, it's going to be awesome for all of us and chaotic. And
it's a good idea you've just had there, Kel, like a food walk.
A food walk, yeah. Well, they
imagine if you could work out for all the different areas where the different fruit trees were, and then you just make a time and people are like, yep, people can come and pick my fruit, and you just go for a walk.
Listen, guys out there in the realm, whoever's listening to us, if you haven't watched River Cottage by now, if you have not invested in watching the fucking UK River Cottage from the beginning season to the end, there's like 10 years worth. Like,
there is going?
No, it's not still going, but far out, man. I don't know anyone who hasn't watched that series. I'm rewatching it now with our 10-year-old. Like, honestly, River Cottage is just so inspiring, and it reminds you about food and farming and all those things, and really so wholesome, such a beautiful thing to watch with your family. And so there's in England, there's food. So people make food maps of fruit trees freely available.
Oh, it is a thing. Wow. Okay. There you go.
So like people will go and they've got like, you know, they'll work out where all the apple trees are that are growing wild, or the whatever trees are growing wild, and you can just go and pick them, and they come out with like fucking boxes and boxes and boxes worth of beautiful organic free food. Like, hello, in every city, in every township, there's fruit trees growing somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And there should be more, right? This is what we should have, like growing in cities and things. But of course, man, you can't have free food. Bloody hell. You're going to get people into shops. That's not going to work.
All right, we're about to round up this show, Campbell, but I'm just going to give you a quick walk through just to finish our little segment on regional rural Australia. I just typed in town halls, New South Wales.
What is it? Glen Innes. Wow.
Look, this is how similar they all are. This is it. That's Glen Innes. It's about half an hour from Inverell. You know, like they're all the same. Every little regional community in Australia has town halls basically using the same architecture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wonder what they were in the old world, if they, like, why they've all been, like, why they grabbed those buildings as the town halls, you know.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, they were probably the power stations.
Yeah.
So that's in
or were they
Forbes.
airports? They've all got the towers, don't they? Were they for
Yep.
airships?
Yep.
But of course, if they were, they'd be a power station too, because they were repowering them as they docked.
Exactly. So this is in Forbes. We can see them everywhere. Armidale has heaps of beautiful architecture in Armidale. And let's see if I can find a good one. Lots of, like, you know, all the same style. Look, all the same style. This is Armidale. So, and we've like we look at, I don't know, there's Mudgee. Let's have a look at Mudgee. Look at Mudgee.
Oh my God.
You know, like, it's all the same everywhere you go.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, again, like, it's probably hard for people to envisage if they're not Australian, but there's just nothing in Australia. Like, it's so sparse, like it's not like America, you know. I've never been there, but they seem to have towns every sort of 10, 20 minutes, don't they?
Yep.
You know, and big networks with this stuff.
Yep.
You're traveling for, you know, back in the day, weeks to get out to these places.
This is
and
orange.
If you're carrying a cart of bricks,
yeah, man,
build like one column.
Yeah, hello.
You know, you're talking months. It's
months.
like, it's just ridiculous.
So we're in orange now. Just like same stuff, you know, same stuff.
Oh, what's that one?
Which one?
That with big tower there.
Oh, this. Oh, that's actually, that's Leichhardt.
Leichhardt.
That's in Sydney.
Surely.
Toowoomba.
Hey.
I mean, it's so easy to find. You barely have to make any effort.
Yep. I mean, look at them all. They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. They're literally.
And so these were all built, you know, hundreds of them in all remote areas all around Australia at the same time that they were building the massive ones in the cities.
Yep.
You know, digging the man-made rivers, all this, putting the electricity in. It's just, and all the tram lines that they then ripped out.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
It's.
See, let's go to, all right, this Armidale.
Fountains. Every town had a fountain, and they all seem to be in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that? And then they go and rip them all out.
Yep, it's true. They're all in the middle of the route. And let's see, I don't know, Gulog. I've never been here. Gulong. Don't know what that is.
God, so that's another one. It's just Tartarian as.
I mean,
it's the same stuff.
Yeah, you can't find. Look, there's a nice dome there. Where's that one? Look at that. I don't know where that is.
It's over in Central West. Oh, it's very nice though, isn't it? It's huge.
Yep, very nice.
But I mean, and you know, is it even possible to find a town in Australia that's made from wood without any of these buildings in it?
Oh, exactly. Yep,
you know,
exactly.
Does that even exist? It probably doesn't, right?
All right, Bendigo. Oh, that's here in Victoria.
Bendigo, yeah, that one.
Oh, yeah, that's Dale's specialty.
Dale's stomping down.
he's gonna like blow Bendigo out of the water soon.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Town Hall. Okay, so this is Tamworth.
Interesting name, Bendigo, isn't it? Bendigo.
Bendigo. So let's have a look. What's another one? Like, I don't know about Wagga Wagga. Let's have a look. Town Hall. Oh, yeah, there we go. It's Wagga Wagga.
Of course.
So again,
where's the Tucker box? What's that?
The Tucker box.
Dog on the Tucker box. That. Gosh, how do we not remember that? We're so un-Australian, man. I've just lost it. Where does he sit? Oh God.
Look, Parks. Yep. So.
Oh my gosh! Is that? Look at that church.
Anglican
church, second line down.
Oh, yeah, Parks. Yep.
What the hell? Look at that thing.
Yep.
Nice and level.
Yep. That's epic, actually.
That's ridiculous. That looks really big.
Yeah, that's a big. Yeah, so that's the other thing. We could actually have a look at churches throughout.
Exactly. And the problem with churches is there's too many of them.
Yep.
Like
There's
all these
too
towns,
many of them.
you find like 3 in like 2 blocks. Like,
absolutely.
Is that why we have to have so many religions? Like, because it's going to be Christian, Anglican. They've all got to be different, right?
God,
there's too many because they're not churches.
Yeah, churches don't exist. Not like we've been taught.
No.
And really, if you were true to any church, you would like the buildings you would create. That's in Forbes.
Exactly. I drove past today and I just noticed this shop this vacant shop, but it used to be a church.
Yep.
And it was literally just a shop.
Yep.
Just like a square box that someone had rented and thought they could turn into a church. And I'm just thinking, you can't do that. Like, you don't understand what you're doing. Like, that's bad energy. Like, you got square corners in there and right angles, and
exactly.
you just can't call something a church and go, yeah, okay, now it's a church. Look at that.
Yeah, that's the same church in Parks, but from the other angle.
Dude, it looks like it's been birthed out of the earth or something, doesn't it?
Yeah. So let's see, let's see.
I guess that's an Anglican.
Yeah.
Angle. It's on an angle, right?
All right. So Dubbo.
All right. Yeah,
so,
look at the courthouse there. That's awesome.
Yep. Another courthouse, post office.
Of course.
I mean, you can see, guys, like, we're building a case here. Like,
maybe they were like, they kept pigeons in those towers for the post office. They were sending by pigeon mail.
Actually, there was an awesome TV series called The Postmaster by Terry Pratchett. It was so much fun. I really liked it.
Funny.
I like Terry Pratchett.
Yeah, he's good.
Oh, look, a bit of a flood. No, Dubbo. The Dubbo flood. The great flood of Dubbo. All right. So Dubbo, what else we got? We got Tamworth, Tenterfield. Have we looked at Tenterfield?
Tenterfield, I don't think so.
Oh, look, that's pretty. Where's that?
Gundagai.
Oh, Gundagai. Oh, that's the Tucker Box.
Tucker Box.
Oh, yeah, that's the Dubbo post office.
Holy crap, look at that street.
I know.
And that's back in the like, what is that, the 60s probably?
Yeah, that's 1960.
Oh, yeah, 60. Yeah. Look at that, completely built out. And also, they're always wall to wall, right?
Wall to wall.
Like, so it's got to have been built at the same time. You can't sort of build and then go, I'm just going to lean my building up against your wall there.
Yep. This is Tenterfield, so same style, all over again. It's just all the same.
And all these Aussie towns, they're supposed to be, so Aussie, right? Built by stockman and farmer.
Yeah.
What? There's no relation between, port windows and arches and columns and bloody, Australian cattlemen.
Yep, absolutely.
Nothing. They'd be laughing at that. They'd be going, oh, that's a bit fancy, mate. Fuck. So
that's Tenterfield.
That's ridiculous.
Again, Tenterfield. And then now if you want, there's Orange. And if you go to say something like Moree, which is like really, I mean, that's just out in the boondocks. That's an hour and a half inland, even further from me. And, you still got the same thing. It really is in the middle of nowhere. And you still got these huge columns, like Moree, there you go. So it's just
it's the exact same stuff.
I mean, it's just fascinating to quickly scoot through all of these pictures, because you can really get an idea of how elaborate these rural townships are with all the same stuff. Oh, Narrabri. Now, Narrabri is nothing. It's like
it's a service station.
It really is like a desert community. Like it's so, and there's Narrabri.
Look at that town hall.
I mean, come on, guys. Hello.
And what this shows you too is, like, like I said before, there's no towns that are like we're told. The story of towns that someone rocked up and it was good land, so they built their little hut, and then someone else rocked along and they built a bigger hut, and then someone built a shop. Anyone, find me a town that looks like that. Just one anywhere in the realm, because they do not exist.
No,
they don't. Everything was this old world construction, big technological, stuff we can't build, and all the stupid bark huts are just built by the retarded fucking rulers who came after and tried to write a silly story.
Yep, exactly.
All it is.
And we've fallen from it. We've fallen for it. And now we just like, it's impossible to not see it now. That's what I mean. I feel like we've Mandala'd ourselves. Like you can't even not see it. We are the Mandela effect is what I'm trying to say. We are the
Mandela effect.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because like you said, with your experience, and you mentioned a reset, there's a movie called The Mandela Effect. Have you seen that?
No, I don't think so.
And it's actually pretty good. And it starts off with his daughters carrying Curious George by the tail.
Yeah, right.
And that's a Mandela effect. Now he doesn't have a tail, right? And she goes in the water and loses her teddy bear and ends up dying. And this dude then sees a picture of Curious George, right? But with no tail. But the last photo he's got of his daughter is of her holding Curious George by the tail.
I didn't even know this movie existed. The Mandela effect.
It's good. It's worth a watch. And he starts freaking out. Yeah, that's it. And
there you go, everyone. Golden nugget. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I won't give too much away, but basically he it's like, like you were sort of talking about, he's like, there's something wrong here. This is wrong. This can't work. I've got two different realities I'm looking at. And so the simulation tries to fix it, tries to kind of make him see and it can't. And he's like, no. And so in the end, it has to reset itself.
That is fun, Campbell. I have never heard of this movie. When did it come out?
Only like a year or so ago, a year, maybe two. So it's about the Mandela effect. So it's worth a watch.
All right. We totally got to watch that, everyone. We'll put that link in there. So great poster. And then I watched a really interesting movie the other day called, Mortal Engines.
Oh yeah. the big cities.
Oh my God, it was so much fun. Like it was just fun watching. So the city of London is like movable basically, and they just roll around on these big movable huge cityscapes, and it's like everything Tartarian but on an engine. Which and then if we tie in like the idea of like these city-states like being giant ships, for example, and that the whole thing's wiring and firing as an engine, and every building is wired to this engine. Mortal Engines wasn't like too far from comprehending.
Yeah, the city's the engine for the machine.
Yeah. So have you seen it?
Yeah. I have, and they run around and they eat the little cities.
Yeah, so London's about to eat the little city over here. Yep. But like it's just really, I thought it was really interesting to watch, and like so elaborate in its animation, I guess.
Yeah. No, it's worth a watch. That was a pretty good one, that one. There's some interesting ones out there, but I mean, they haven't made any good ones for a while, have they, really?
No.
Always got to have the red bloody bandana on the face, right?
Yes. Yep.
That's
look at that mask. So this came out in 2018. Yep, exactly. Classic programming. Like, look at it. This came out 1 year before the masked gender came out. It was just
when everyone's like stuck in their cities and can't leave. Because they're driving around.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I thought that too when I was watching it. Yeah, she's completely masked up the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Jesus, Campbell, we just covered a whole scuff today.
And we covered all of Tartaria in Australia, so that's good. We're finished. We're done.
We're done. That's it.
However.
So basically, in conclusion, no one built anything in Australia. Everything was mapped out for us. Nothing was founded. Everything was discovered. They were discovered based on potentially the mineral availability of that region. There was always a great, inverted commas, fire and inverted commas flood, which were essentially weapons of some description that would wipe out and reset and reconfigure and then take out the free energy. And here we are today. in Australia. And hello, that picture of Canberra, get fucked. We've been fully Mandela affected today. So you saw that a year ago, Campbell. So that was the first
about a year, maybe a bit less, but yeah, so it's been out that long. But same thing, it just popped up when I was looking. I was just like, what the fuck is that?
What the fuck is that?
What the hell?
Because like, if we think about our schooling here in Australia, and like, you know, we all forced to study like Captain Cook and the whole like foundation of Australia. Never once, not once did I ever get introduced to the idea of Australia being a brilliant European style colony or city, or even potentially them alluding to the idea that that could have been the way it looked like.
No, I mean, we don't even get taught about all the fires and floods.
No.
But, you know, and Australia's only got 200 years of history, and they don't even teach us that.
No. All the tram lines, all these maps behind me, like we were shown pictures of, you know, like empty landscapes with a few natives camping and a tall ship on the horizon, you know, like.
That's literally all we got, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Nothing anywhere, but
yeah,
it's all a big lie, and we're waking up to see it. So
us waking up to see it is actually glitching, or is reconfiguring the AI process, which is what we're terming as a Mandela effect, but it's actually us doing it. And so the more we're looking and calling, because if you go back to the stories about, you know, originally how we got here and upgraded, like the number one law is that you can't interfere with an evolving species. So if that evolving species is asking questions and not just constantly on the same tangent, like of, you know, like we could spend 1,000,000 years literally going relationships, find love, find job, like the same, we're not making known any new reality, like we're just on the same trajectory every single lifetime. But suddenly we're starting to ask, hang on a minute, like none of this makes sense. What next, universal? Or how is history really, what's our true foundation? Then the information has to be provided.
Yeah, I agree. It's like the simulation has to keep balance, right?
Yeah.
Has to keep everything going in balance. So when we're starting to, it's like the movie, The Mandela Effect, right? He's got this photo of his daughter holding the tail of this monkey, but in his reality, that tail never existed.
Yep.
And so then the matrix, you know, the system, the illusion has to make it right. And it tries and it tries and it tries and it can't. So it goes, fuck it, I'm resetting.
Yep.
Just reset it. Is that what we're heading for? Like, are we starting to get to a place where we're asking questions that can't be answered very easily, and we're getting all this weird information coming? At one point, are we just going to wake up and go, "Oh, fuck, we're in a different timeline"? Everything.
Yep.
You know, is that the only way that it can keep the balance? Because we're clearly out of balance with this reality.
Yeah. Right. Like we'd be like a virus, or like an alert, or like, you can't download this file, it's, you know, we're like that annoying thing that's irritating us about
you
AI.
have to change your password because it's
we are corrupted. We're that as well, aren't we? Like they don't have to change a password, they have to change a whole stream of history.
They have to change everything to make it to make it make sense, don't they?
So as exhausting and as irritating as we're finding technology now, that's how they're finding us.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. We're a pain in their ass.
Total pain.
But this is the thing, because we've got free will and we can think, we can't get wiped.
Yeah.
That's not part of the program. And like you said, they can't interfere, right? So when we ask questions and reality doesn't fit, then reality's got to change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And I think that's what the shift is. I think that we're like, hang on, nah. Because it's one thing saying, I don't like this, poor little me, oh, this sucks. That's completely different than going, hang on, this is wrong. This doesn't make sense. This isn't reality. That's a completely different question, isn't it? And when you're asking those questions, it's like, you know, what does the matrix do? It can only go, well, what about this? Yeah, but what about this? Come on, please. What about? Oh shit, didn't work. Okay, reset.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the great fires and the great floods, we don't even know if that technology is triggered by consciousness. Like, we don't know if like that is something that comes about when questions are asked. We don't know the catalysms or the earth changes that are brought about in this reality when consciousness is waking up and asking questions. Like, we don't know the intricate, complex nature of how all of this entwines. All we can do right now is follow our deprogramming agenda, and from that perspective, like, sort out our getting rid of all the poisons in our own vehicle systems, and then, I don't know, asking, like,
trust, right? I think you're at the point where, I mean, we've been taught to trust the system, right, and other people outside of us, but clearly, shit, if you've been doing that for the last 2 years, well, you're not watching this video, so it doesn't matter, right? Like, so it's all trusted. So we've just got to get to a point where, like, well, maybe I'm right, maybe, and maybe I'm not, but maybe I'll just give it a go anyway and see what happens. Maybe I'll back myself. And go, well, I think that I can build something better, and that's what it feels right. That's what feels right. So let's do it. Let's give it a go. I think that's where we are, rather than, we've just got to stop this compliance. It's all compliance, right? They give us an idea and we go, oh, okay. If we don't reject it and say, fuck you, no fucking way in my realm, then we're complying.
Yeah, and like it comes down to sort of basics at this point. Like, it's not complex. Like, honestly, we all have to reclaim our sovereignty, and that's basic stuff, people. Like, when I went off YouTube 12 years ago, like, and I was teaching on YouTube a lot, and I came off because a teacher said to me, you talk about sovereignty, but do you know how to grow your own food? Do you know where your shit goes? Do you know how to use tools? Do you know how to build your own support? Like, do you know how to take care of your basic needs? And I had to say no. I had to say no to all those questions. And then that took me to the farm. And like, we're all in that space right now. Like, you need to reclaim that sovereignty because you need to detox from
for
all
ourselves
the poisons.
Which I think is a big point. We've spent the last couple of years, coming together, forming groups, finding out tribes, soul families, all that, and that's awesome, and we should keep doing it. But that's just, that's not someone who's going to do something for you. That's just finding your family. It's getting in the right vibration. It's getting around people that can help you and give you inspiration and information. But you still have to do it. We still have to do it.
Yeah.
Right. You can have all the information in the world, and if you sit down and say, "Oh, I know," but you don't do anything. Oh yes, I know so much about gardening. I'm going to Coles to buy a cucumber. Then you're stuffed, right? Yeah. So this is all about we got, and this is the thing. We just got, it's self-responsibility, right? It's a whole thing. It's standing on your own 2 feet. It's trusting yourself, backing yourself, and not asking other people to live your life anymore, which is a big thing. Just make your own decisions. And it's like I said before, man. People were asking me if they should get tests. I mean, we should all work, and the only reason they would ask that is because they don't trust themselves. They know COVID doesn't exist, but they've got this other voice going, oh my God, 500 new cases today. Oh, someone who was 95 died of COVID. Oh my God, it's a pandemic. Trust yourself, guys. That's all bullshit. It's just not true. And I think this is the hardest bit, is people just don't want to admit that everything they believed is wrong. It's a lie. But I mean, what's the choice? The choice is you keep living the lie and you keep being made a fool, or you wake up and go, oh shit, it's a lie, I'm going to go this way. But that's the choice.
And like, it's up to us after that to decide how we're going to detox from this whole agenda, and there's like some basic caveman type stuff going on there. Like, we got to like take care of our family's needs, like basic shit.
Not that hard. Food, water, heat, shelter.
Well, it's not massively easy either. Like, you have it did take me several years to like get my head around how to do all of that. So I'm like, just not, I'm just saying it's like, but it's thoroughly enjoyable and so blissful, and so many amazing qualities that like you just love once you fucking do it, and you're gonna do it. Like, your boy's gonna do it anyway. Campbell, we've got to stop.
We've got to stop talking.
So I'm just gonna like cut us off. I'm cutting us off, man. I'm just gonna edit over.
Yes, we love you all. Thank you for staying with us.
Yeah, that was a really fun show, like going through and like checking out Australia again. It's nice to get back to our like Tartarian roots, you know. We've been like off in the higher dimensions with all our guests recently. So anyway, love you all and thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it, and go and check out the Mandela Effect, the movie. That's fun. That's a good Friday night in for us all. So with love, everyone. Have a great day.
I've enjoyed. Talk to you next time.